Jeremiah Love breaks free. Jeremiah Love trying to go 98. Touchdown! What a run in the first touchdown of the 12-team playoff.
This is 365 Sports.
Daniels keeps it, and he scores.
365 Sports is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
Underneath, Smith gets to the corner. Money on the rise. Touchdown. Jeremiah Smith.
365 Sports is also brought to you by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, protecting Texans since 1952.
Johnson buys some time. There's the tight end again, rumbling towards the end zone, and the touchdown for Ancio.
Remember when you had a guy, someone who could fix anything? They're still out there at Batteries Plus. With their quick solutions and expert advice on batteries, key fobs, and phone repair, Batteries Plus will have you in and out and on your way in no time. Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
Dig deep. Klubnik's going to take off. Klubnik with a touchdown.
Now here's David Smoak and Paul Catalina.
Thank you again to Batteries Plus, one of our newest sponsors of 365 Sports. Third to steal another one. We appreciate them too, and you will hear from them and what they do also throughout the show, along with all the originals we have from the first time we went on the air, which was in April of 2025 plus years ago. Paul Catalina is with me in the studio. I'm David Smoak, Garrett Ross, Brendan Rowe, and Andrew Valader, all a part of today's show. Craig is out this week. And we were having a discussion about that. Garrett, what did you say about Craig?
I don't remember.
I did.
Oh
my God.
It was just 5 minutes.
You just asked before the show. He just asked before the show, are you worried about my mental capacity right now?
I did ask that.
And we were like, well, not right now, but like there are warning signs. And then he's like, Garrett, what'd you say about Craig? I'm well closer to you than Garrett. Garrett's all the way across the room with me, but I said that Craig has not thought about us for one second.
Not 1 second. If he's dropped it on the show, he probably rolled his eyes. And
we would have to, the studio would have to be swallowed up by a sinkhole for him to be concerned.
Yeah, because he would see it in because he doesn't do social media much either. So he would have to just see that as a headline, maybe on the news. Yeah, I mean,
when he checks, he checks in the morning, go through things, so he's informed. He's a very informed guy, but he doesn't dive down deep. But if he found out, oh my gosh, or check the group text, which I'm sure he's muted right now, and we're like, hey, we're in a sinkhole, and he'd be like, okay, I'll come over and help with that.
Yeah, I'll be there. I'll be back on Monday.
Yeah.
Oh my Lord.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm not capable. Garrett, you're pretty good about just shutting. I was much better this year when I went to Florida to see my brothers. I am getting better about when I get away to try to get away. And even you guys are always pretty good about that. I mean, we have a group text though. That's all of us here plus Craig.
We do.
So how do you shut that off? You can get out of that?
Do not disturb. It will save your life.
But what about all the other text messages you get?
They're all on silent. I'll look, and if I have some notifications, I might check it out. But most of the time, I'll get to it on my terms.
Okay, all right.
My problem, I have a very severe, like, I'm not an OCD person, but I cannot stand a red number.
That's fair.
There you go.
By anything.
Yep.
And if you show me your phone, like there are sometimes people like, hey, will you take a picture? And they hand me the phone.
It's like 74.
No, there's people with like 1,000 emails.
How do you do
that?
that?
And I'm like, well, why do you even have your email on your phone if you're not going to look at it? And why are these emails unread? What's the point of if they're just delete that email account.
Yep.
If you're not going to read, it's just there. It's taunting you. Or do you do that so that is your self-esteem so low that you have to just have the little pick me up of like, well, at least 1,100 businesses want me to buy their stuff.
Like now on my screen, under my email, it has the red number 1, which is just an email. We have Ivan Maisel in a couple of weeks, one of the great authors who covers sports for many years. He wrote a book, and we'll have that in a couple of weeks. But that email just came down from his publicist. My text messages, I cannot stand it if it has a number next to it. And I'll just delete it. And, now they have the feature. I didn't know this until maybe I've known this a while. If, for example, you get a text message and you delete it, you could actually still go back and find it under deleted text messages. Did you know that?
Mm-hmm.
Why would they want you to? I guess in case you delete something you shouldn't have deleted.
By accident. Yeah,
right.
I don't know. I'm trying to get better with the constantly answering the phone. I used to be really good about it at night. I would just plug my phone in and let it go. And then a man came into my life. A man came into my life who is sitting right there, who didn't keep normal business hours. And we were just working together. And one day he's like, hey, you got to answer your phone. I'm like, well, it's night. It's downstairs. It's charging. And he's like, yeah, I sent you like 40 text messages. I'm like, oh, I saw them in the morning, All
right. I need to learn how to do the notify.
And then I've gotten better. Like, he's also not on that same schedule anymore of, I just got this new job at a station and I'm trying to to your credit, you were trying to revamp everything that we were doing.
Yes.
And I was the only person who could answer any questions. So I was going to get text messages. And I had not yet adjusted to your speed yet, of which now I am well versed. In fact, I'm the world's leading expert on David Smoak. When, one day when you're like if I outlive you by 50 years, which I don't think is possible, but say I outlive you by 50 years and they are walking to the Texas High School Hall of Fame and they want a symposium on it, I'm the only person they'll go to.
Yeah, you're right. Jennifer might show up. Oreo, as long as Oreo's still around, and Daniel might show up.
Yeah.
All right, so we've got a lot of interesting graphics and a list or 3, and our guests today, including John Talty from CBS Sports, also Tim Brando today, Fox Sports at 4, and former BYU quarterback Riley Nelson will join us today, along with Paul's Top 5 and Andrew's poll results. So this was we have this group text, and we're all firing back and forth, potential stories, topics, whatever, and an email too. And this is one, the top 10 returning QBR, quarterback ranking leaders in college football. We've seen lists about the best quarterbacks who are back and this and that, and everybody has their list. Nobody's really wrong, although we can all disagree or agree to disagree. But this is a stat, quarterback ranking from a year ago, and Sawyer Robertson, who had a hell of a year, and a lot of people have talked about him, at the top of the list. That doesn't mean these are the top 10 quarterbacks. These are the top 10, could be, quarterback ratings. Then there's Horvath, who was fantastic for Navy and just ran all over Oklahoma, not to mention ran over Army. Here's our boy, Haynes King from Longview High School at Georgia Tech, Aller, Penn State, Levitt, Carson Beck, Nussmeier, LSU, and Garrett Ross's homeboy, and then Cade Klubnik, not a surprise, Darian Mensah, the transfer to Duke, and Marcel Reed at number 10 at Texas A&M.
I was a little surprised to see Marcel Reed so high on that list because of the passing game just wasn't really there. But if you think about it, it just wasn't prolific. It was it was there. I mean, like they weren't prolific. Like he did things that they were not, all over the place. It was his first year as a starter. Early reports out of camp are good, although I've never heard one bad thing out of camp.
Yeah, have you ever had anybody in camp like write or tweet a college? Yeah. And you don't get to see much anyway. Man, they look like today. Even training camps, maybe a little bit the NFL, but not in college.
You get the Cowboys had their scrimmage with the Rams this morning or yesterday, whenever that was. And every Cowboys beat writer was pretty frank about the Cowboys couldn't stop the run in this. They didn't run the ball all that well. And, here I am thinking oh, wow, all of us have been saying that same thing for a while. Brian Schottenheimer knows what he has to work on. But again, it's a training camp practice, so let's not get all excited. But I've never once heard a college coach be like, hey, listen, I'm going to be honest with you guys.
Yeah.
It's going to be up and down. Actually, the most candid I've ever heard a coach be about a spot on the roster was one time in the spring. I asked Art Briles, I said, hey, your offensive line is wholesale different. And you don't have as much depth there as you did a year ago. And he faced it, we have to get it right before the season comes around or we're going to be in trouble. And they wound up being all right, but it was one of those things where they have 4.5 new starters because one of the guys had played a little bit.
Right.
But they had pretty much 5 new starters and one guy with a little bit of experience. And, the recruiting, they had kind of they were maybe down 2 guys in the locker room. And actually, I think that was 2015. So the next year when he left and they didn't have anybody, when he got fired and they didn't have anybody, and Matt Rule got in and said, okay, where are the rest of these linemen? There were 6 or 7 guys in the room.
I think they had 8 offensive linemen on scholarship.
Yeah.
I think it was that
and there was
number.
8, and they had
8.
no walk-ons at that point and all that. And so they had 8 on scholarship. And he's like, well, what if 5 of you get hurt?
Yeah. Or 4.
Or 4 of you get hurt.
Yeah, then you got to go to some tight ends.
Yeah. So they but that was that year right after that. But he was very frank about it. And, turns out that it did become a huge problem for Baylor. He wasn't there to witness it, but yeah, that was the only time I think that's ever happened. Now, Matt Rule was pretty candid throughout the year about, what he could be about what was going on in culture building for Baylor. But that's also because, you can't be the Wizard of Oz in a lot of situations and be like, pay no attention to the man behind the curtain.
Right.
I know you're seeing this. I'm not going to come out here and say everything's going great.
Right.
He's got to be candid about all right, well, this is why we have 8 offensive linemen that were here last year. We have all these guys that have to play a bigger role. We had to go get this. We had to get this. It's all before the transfer portal, too. Now you walk in with 6 offensive linemen in the room, and you're like, well, we can go get 6 more.
Yeah,
I mean, they may not be good, but at least we're not going to have to worry about not having players. Yeah.
And what Baylor did back in that day, speaking of what you were talking about, that 2015 to 16 transition, they were really good about getting a couple of guys, junior college, big behemoth dudes, Cyril Richardson, Philip Blake, and guys that had played at junior college. Now, some of you have already said, wait a minute, what about Cam Ward? Put that list up if you don't mind, Garrett, one more time if you don't mind. Cam Ward, Dylan Gabriel, Curtis Rourke, Jackson Dart, 1 through 4. What's the first word on that graphic? Returning. QBR, leaders in college football.
Sounds like a bunch of guys who are in NFL training camps right now.
Yes, exactly.
They're returning. They're returning.
So, Will Howard is among the top 10. He's gone. Milrow's gone. And so those are the top 10 returning QBR ratings from last year.
Yeah, I'm sorry you didn't do so well in that reading comprehension thing in the SAT. Oh, well, I messed up the joke, so we're both done.
Yeah, you did. All right, now – Iowa State, K-State are going to play in Dublin, Ireland, and that game is 2.5 weeks away, right? It was a Kansas State home game that was given up in Manhattan to play the game in Dublin, Ireland. And so, at the top of that graphic, that is the K-State, of course, helmet, and they are the home team.
Yeah.
Give me that name there, Paul.
I only will if you can tell me what language that is.
That's Irish, which is English.
It's Gaelic. So I don't speak Gaelic.
Please go as fast as you can.
Yeah, no, I don't. I don't speak Gaelic. So I do like that cool stripe on the helmet, though.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah,
and I like the. I'm a Times New Roman guy.
Yeah,
or is it New Times? What is it?
Times New Roman.
Yeah, but that's not it right there. That's
no.
That's one of those that I would make you guys.
It's probably a classic old English Gaelic font.
All right, so Sam Conn is going to be with Paul and Garrett tomorrow on the show. Wrote an article. This is probably the 39th national article about Texas Tech in the offseason they've had for many reasons, and they've earned a lot of that. They have the attention. Sam Conn, Inside Texas Tech's Open Checkbook and the school's quest to rule the Big 12. Now, this is the part that I saw. Remember, we had Cody Campbell. We like him a lot. If you don't really understand him, or you have never met him, or you didn't listen to his interview with us. The quote, though, I thought this was interesting. Stuart Mandel put this out there, but this is Cody Campbell, on paper, the most talented team in the conference, and it's not really even close. Now, he might be right.
Yeah.
Might be right. There's
the key words on that are on paper.
Yes, on paper. Because we've seen schools that have gotten a lot of the 4- and 5-star blue chip type players that have also then not been able to, whatever reason, get it together. And that's the one thing Joey McGuire and his staff will try to make sure that they don't have any of that inside the locker room. But there's also teams that you're going to play. Now, they might be able to run the table in the Big 12. They've never done that before, though, right? They've never played for a Big 12 championship. And this is kind of, Cody Campbell's not a braggart. This is what he's saying. But that can go up in the locker room. Not saying that Lance Leipold, hey, grab that one and put it in front of everybody's locker, even if KU's playing him, I don't know. But in this article, it was basically the same story, but in different ways of looking at it. And Sam did a great job with this. From Joey McGuire, if we win 10 games, but don't win the Big 12 championship, I think we've missed the mark. Craig's mentioned that. Craig's mentioned that if they don't win at least 9 or play, Craig said play for the Big 12 championship. Joey's saying that if we don't win the Big 12 championship, I think we've missed the mark. You agree with that?
No, I completely agree with that. This is the goal. Look, when you're trying to insert yourself into the country club, into the big time, and you do all these things that they've done, and then don't even get to the first, step of getting yourself into the big time of playing for the championship. They should be, at very least, their goal should be playing in that championship game.
No, that's exactly what Craig said. At least
play in that championship,
the Big 12 championship,
which they've never done.
No,
and
26 years or so, 20 whatever years it's been.
Yeah. So they've never done that.
29.
So to get yourself in that big time and to justify, look, you can justify financially getting all these 5-star guys that they're all of a sudden getting for the first time ever, and that's great for them. But to justify getting them, guys are going to want money and to win simultaneously when you're a 5-star guy.
They can get disenchanted.
You can get you'd be like, well, the money's good here, but it'd be kind of the same, even though they're, Tech is paying more than Mo's. Kind of the same if I went to Georgia and we'd win the title. But so that's where you have to start paying it off, and that's what they're trying to do. It's very big this year that they wind up in that championship game, and I think anything short of that is wildly disappointing, given how aggressive they've been in building the roster, and not just transfer portal, but really ramping up their high school recruiting.
All right, James Blanchard, who cut his teeth as a website contributor, and then, of course, was under Matt Rule's regime at Baylor, and then at Carolina, and now at Texas Tech. Here's a quote from him. Now, Joey said, we missed the mark if we don't win the Big 12 title, 10 wins or whatever. And most people would agree with that. Craig, again, remembers the one that brought up 9 wins and play for the Big 12 title. James Blanchard, we have top 3 in the country resources. We know, we've seen the pictures of that monstrosity of a beautiful complex that they have in Lubbock. There is no reason for failure. If we don't get to the Big 12 championship game, I'm going to feel like I failed. Didn't say the team, but he's the one that's built this roster, remember? And so you have that a couple of different quotes. So there we are. Campbell, we're on paper the most talented team. It's not even close in the conference. And then also, Blanchard, I don't think it's anywhere near a do or die situation, but it's proof of concept situation. So prove that this works. Otherwise, the story is if you go 8-5, which would be nice, and that's normally kind of where they've been. If you do that, then the stories are going to be what went wrong.
Yeah.
Or does it work? Or can a team that's not associated with this so-called country club in college football, can you do it? Can you do it right? And so there we are with that. Now, I thought this was interesting. Most bets of going over or under or over and under on wins. The most bet. Now, this is not, these are the 3 highest ranked based on bets of a team that will go over the win total in Vegas or under the win total in Vegas. And look at all the money on Colorado both ways.
Yeah. No, I'm not putting anything. I would not put anything on Colorado. Garrett, you got to feel good about that number 2 spot there.
I mean, but I would not put. I personally, if it's my money, I'm not betting LSU to go over that.
Okay, and
you're not saying they're going to win 9 games.
I mean, maybe, but I don't have faith like that. I'm guaranteed putting my money that they're winning.
If I gave you $100 bill, and you can't get it unless you bet it. I had a friend do that for me on a birthday, and it made me.
Smokey, and I lost your money pretty quick.
Yeah, you damn sure did, and I still have the receipt. No, you would not. If I gave you $100 to bet on the over, would you feel comfortable?
I wouldn't feel comfortable.
You feel bad about losing my money.
I would. I really would.
What if you won?
Well, then hell yeah. I mean, I'd give you your half or whatever. We'd be good.
All right. Well, that's nice. That's nice. Paul,
Michigan
at 8.5 is the under.
I feel confident about betting the over on Michigan. I think they can get to 9 wins. I feel confident about betting the over on LSU. And again, I'm not a bettor. Colorado, I'm not going anywhere near that because, again, like first quarterback that didn't spring forth from Deion's loins. I just want to see how it works.
Are you saying that other men's loins don't produce?
No. I'm just saying that for Deion, like
that's Deion's
only had Shadur.
Yeah.
Like that's it. You know.
Well, don't act like Shiloh's not breathing.
Yeah, but I mean, it's quarterback. Yeah, it's quarterback. So I think everybody betting the over on Ohio State is dumb.
Yeah, because here's what could happen. Now, is this for the regular season or counting
I think it's
the conference?
For the regular season.
Does it count the conference championship?
No, I don't think.
All right, then I wouldn't do it either. No matter, Sharice, you can say whatever you want. That means if they lose the opening game to Texas, which is likely, which can happen, that's probably a 50-50 game, then you cannot lose the rest of the year.
Yeah, basically.
And then your money's gone.
Yeah, you can only lose.
You
can't lose.
That's how many people still are bet. That's a powerful school. Lots of alums, and they're betting that Ohio State, despite what they lost, and bringing in a brand new quarterback who's really, really good, a 5-star stud, and saying, but this is, and with Texas off the top of the schedule, that is ballsy right there.
Yeah, that is. If you're betting the over on Ohio State, I know that you're confident, but they have a lot of changes. And look, I think a down year for them is 9-3, and a tragic year is 8-4. Like if they're 8-4, they're sitting around going, what's the purpose of this? Why are we on this big blue orb? You know what? Elon wants to go to Mars. I'm going to be the first one there because on Mars, Ohio State football can't hurt me.
That's exactly right. That's right. Yeah, that's exactly right.
I'm signed up because that's where I'll go. But I'll also say this. Yeah, bet the under on North Carolina.
I have no idea how that's going to work out.
I would bet the under on North Carolina because they're not. I don't think they're getting to 8 for one. And 2, again, it's the first year. We have a thing coming up about the most transfers, and they're on that list. And I don't think anybody else on the list that would be on the most transfers that you're going to bang the over on them. I don't think that's going to happen. I just don't think that's going to happen. So,
it's either they're going to be a game or two. They're going to be either 2 wins better than we think because of just what he can do as a coach, no matter what the level is or how late a start, or this could end up being just like Bill Callahan at Nebraska.
Yeah, I mean,
and I'm not trying to compare those two in the NFL. That's night and day. Callahan had taken a team to a Super Bowl with the Raiders, but I'm not trying. But I'm just saying it could end up that way.
I don't think that he has the talent to win 8 games right now. That's not to say that he won't next year and that the players that they brought in won't get better and coached up by a Belichick staff, but I just don't think that they have the talent this year to do it. And I don't think that, at least roster-wise, that there was many people flooding in the doors to play for Bill Belichick as they thought there would be at North Carolina. I think they thought that they're like when they went out and look at they signed the quarterback from South Alabama who they really like, who's going to be Gio Lopez, who's going to be their starter. And that's all well and good. Like, that's great. If he's ready to go up a level and play in the ACC, more power to him. What I think, though, is that North Carolina thought that they're going to say, hey, Bill Belichick is the coach here. The wallet's open. Come on to Chapel Hill and play football. That they were going to have people, jumping out of Alabama and Georgia and LSU and, Ohio State going like, well, Ryan Day, the defending national champion, one thing with the greatest NFL coach of all time. Well, I'm going to go play for him. And that didn't happen.
No.
I think that was part of the thing.
There was no flood there. They got a few people, but it wasn't like even Deion was able to get kind of a surge. Of course, part of it was what he brought with him from Jackson State.
And I'll tell you this, if you have those choices most of the time of just, okay, you're going to go play for Deion or you're going to go play for Bill. Are you going to play for Coach Prime?
Yeah.
Coach Prime, or are you going to play for, we got to get better on guarding the tight end on third down.
It might. I would, even at 66, I would want to go play for Deion.
That's the thing.
Because I'm hip.
Yeah. So you're going
I like to listen to him, even if he was cussing.
But that's the other thing is, so if you're just going for what their fame legacy is, you're going to go to Prime over Belichick, even though Belichick has 6 Super Bowls and is a far more accomplished coach by every single metric. But if I'm 20 years old and I'm deciding which place to transfer to, I'm really just happy about this and the way we played. What? Or is it,
how many NFL,
do you believe now? Where am I going?
But if Belichick is what he was in the NFL, which could work differently for a veteran, an older person, a pro, whatever, but he did win. I mean, he won a lot. And even when Brady left, I understand he didn't win as much, but that happens. All right. I get what you're saying, though. If you wanted to pick between the two, Garrett, was there any question you'd want to go play for Deion?
Out of those, I'm not a big Deion fan or Belichick, but I would take Deion in that scenario.
I love Deion. I do. I love listening to him. I know he's full of shit when he was younger, and I know he was a was he a diva? Would he be a diva?
He still is a diva.
The diva.
But I don't know. Maybe it's his accent. I just like that. There's certain accents that I do like. Although this year will be fun to see how they do and how well they can play with an entirely almost not remade, but a pretty remade roster plus the quarterback and Travis gone. Now, and others. Remember we showed you the college football coaches poll earlier this week. The AP poll will come out on Monday. Brett McMurphy was a guest on our show yesterday, and he alluded to this. This is still stunning to me, but is it? Because how do you know in this day and age, even if you are a really good team with a lot of players back. In 2024, 13, more than half of the top 25 preseason poll, which is released on Monday, the AP poll, more than half finished the year unranked. And if you look at that list, my God,
look,
it all makes sense except maybe 2 or 3 schools as far as how they were right on the edge of top 25.
Now, LSU right on the edge, A&M and Kansas State right on the edge. But everybody else,
Iowa's always in that right on the edge.
USC was right on the edge. They beat A&M in the bowl game, right? Michigan, won the bowl game, but I think by their standards they were garbage. Utah, like Florida State, Utah, Oklahoma State, Arizona, Kansas, NC State, and Iowa were all bad. Iowa wasn't that bad. Like, I'll take Iowa at that. But NC State, so 7 of those teams not only were overranked, but they were awful in the year. So, and That's why if you notice, I keep asking like different opinions of the same question when it comes to rankings about how hard it is to do, because I think that we've seen the test case now of it used to be that you have 25 teams, like 5 or 6 of them on a bad year would not live up to what you thought because you kind of knew what they had and they would lose close games and they just wouldn't be, instead of being 10-2, they'd be 8-4, but they still would have some good wins and won their bowl game and all that stuff. So they still finish in the top 25 instead of being in the top 5. But here, like, it is so different every year because the rosters change wholeheartedly. It is much more like the NFL is now, where you can have teams that were good a year ago, but if the roster's not all, well, actually, you know what? I'll tell you one thing. The example I'll give you is that Oklahoma State's roster got real old in a hurry. They were kind of old,
and they had and even with an older quarterback who could have been still,
they had a lot of guys.
We knew Michigan was going to take a drop. There was no way that they weren't going to take a fall, but no way you could have thought
they would have another quarterback on the roster,
right?
Yeah,
because what was the guy's name that Orgy?
Alex Orgy,
from Texas,
and Davis Warren, and it was just not good.
Florida State. We knew that they weren't going to be as good without Jordan Travis, but my God, they just were awful. Utah and Oklahoma State, they're both on the same. That's the same. If you had a level, they'd both be on that level. LSU, right on the cusp. Oklahoma, again, it's a logo pick. Let's put them somewhere between 16 and 25. K-State, right on the edge. It wasn't like you missed on them. They were still pretty good. A&M lost 4 of the last 5. They were right there in the middle of it. Arizona, there should have been red flags all over the place because when Jed Fish left and late and took a lot of players and coaches with him, not a lot of players, but took some with him. Shame. KU, I think everyone thought that Jalen Daniels would be healthy and they would be fine. And they finished strong until they lost that last game, but still not top 25. USC, God knows who they are. NC State, and then, of course, Iowa. You could always think Iowa's a safe pick to say preseason top 25 because Ferentz is going to do a good job. Sometimes you can make fun of the offense, but they're going to be in the mix, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they are. And but it is just wild to see 13 of the 25 teams out of it. And look, Kansas was a big surprise that they were out of it because people thought Jalen Daniels is back. So they're a big surprise. LSU finishing out of it was more or less.
Where were they, Garrett? Would they have been like 28?
They would have had to have been like right on the outside.
I mean, they were very impressive in their bowl win against a team that had been red hot. Now, all right, now, remember when Dion and Colorado were going to have all these transfers, right? And everyone like clutched their pearls. Well, it'll never be like this. Oh, my God. It's getting worse. Here's the list of the most incoming transfers. This doesn't mean they're a no-star, JUCO, Division III, from FBS or FCS or wherever. Doesn't matter if they were ranked highly or not. Look how many programs, 4, with 50-plus transfers on their roster out of, 85?
Yeah.
How many coaching changes?
105.
How many coaching changes on that list with Marshall?
Yes.
Purdue?
Yes.
Iowa? No.
Southern Miss.
Southern Miss.
Yeah, Charles Huff went there.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep, from Marshall, right?
Yep.
And then West Virginia, Rich Rod.
Yeah.
Western Kentucky. Not sure. North Carolina, yes.
Yes.
UNLV, yes. Oklahoma State, no.
No.
Memphis,
no. Sac State, yes.
Sac State,
and Sacramento State with Brendan Marion.
Yeah. So
8 or 9 of the 10. And I got to check on Western Kentucky.
Yeah, but and look, the only team that there are 2 good teams. Like UNLV was good last year. Memphis was good last year. Western Kentucky is kind of always a version of Western Kentucky, but everybody else changed their coach, and
Tyson Helson's still at Western Kentucky.
Yeah,
so he's
Western Kentucky though takes a lot of transfers because Western Kentucky is the master of
their feeder program.
But they're also the ones who are like they're going to snipe somebody going down. Like, okay, you know what? Like, okay, you weren't SEC quality, you weren't Big 12 quality, but you're fast and can run this wide open offense. You can come here to Western Kentucky. We'll coach you up.
Yep.
So they're a little bit of a different example there because they're very good at going, oh, that quarterback didn't work out there, or, oh, this guy's an FCS guy, we're going to make him into a stud. They're really good at that. The Hilltoppers are. But Memphis is the only school there that's really, really, that was kind of, head and shoulders above a lot of the teams in the league. So, but Ryan Silverfield is, I don't think he's long for that job. Not in a bad way. I think in a good way for him.
He's going to be like Norvell, move on to something better.
Look, Little Rock and Memphis are not far from each other, man.
No, you're right. Arkansas. So let's go to the Louisiana Monroe story, Garrett, if you don't mind. Can we flip to that one at your convenience if you get to it? And then we'll take a break and come back with John Talty. John Talty wrote a story, no position in college football has gained more importance or attention than the GM. We just talked about that a little bit with the story that Sam did on Texas Tech with James Blanchard and company. He did one as well and ranked them, a survey. We'll have him coming up in the next segment. Brian Vincent is going to take over, it appears, as the interim AD while he's the head football coach at UL Monroe. This is like in high school.
Or how colleges used to be.
Yeah, yes, exactly. Yeah, how colleges used to have the AD was also the football coach, which would be really difficult to do. But one of the things about what Ross Dellinger mentioned is that this kind of shows how much support he has, the coach, in Vincent from the university. Hartwell is the one who resigned back on Monday.
Yeah, and I know Louisiana Monroe's kind of sweating. They've got financial problems. They've got a lot going on. I think they had the lowest revenue intake of anybody in the FBS. Like there's a lot going on at Louisiana Monroe. Well, and look, we can ask an alum about it here in a little bit.
No, that's exactly right. We can. UL Monroe, I took that trip when they hosted Baylor. That was a fun, great atmosphere. That was a really fun atmosphere when I drove up there to cover that game. And they had Art Browse and company in trouble.
I was in a wedding at Tallahassee, and you like every subsequent call, I remembered less.
Yeah, no, yeah, you did.
All right, so
let's get to a couple of super chats, and we appreciate the super chats as always. From Charlie, if KU got invited to the SEC and Big Ten, would K-State hold them back? I don't know how the government works of the state. I don't know how that works. I don't think that could be possible.
Charlie, just stop hoping.
Let's be hypothetical.
Hypothetical, but no.
Remember that even occurred back when all of the shifts were going on in the first place. KU kind of felt like they would get the invitation. Hey, I'd be happy for them. I'm not saying anything against them, but it's no longer an effective. You look at what happened in California. It's no longer an effective end the move tactic because you're just going to say we're going to make more money and there's nobody in the world who's going to stop you from doing that. It's a stall tactic is what it is. Yeah, okay.
When it was done here in the Big 12, they knew that A&M wasn't going to stay. They just needed to stall so they could could come up with a plan. Yeah.
Even when schools went down to Austin, when the Texas-Oklahoma story popped, it was like a pimple on an elephant.
Yeah, it's just a stall.
MBM. I saw Dion speak at church in Oklahoma City 30 years ago. He talked about driving his Lamborghini over a bridge because he wasn't happy, finding God and turning his life around. I gained respect for prime time.
Yeah, I read that in his book.
What's it like to be able to have a Lamborghini and drive it over the bridge?
And then realize that's
where the dark spot that he was in. Yeah.
And you know what? He was lucky because the spot that he drove down was just a steep hill. It wasn't like a cliff. So the car just basically skidded down the hill, and he walked out without any, major injury. And that's when he saw the light.
I get claustrophobic thinking about being in a car and it goes in the water. I honestly, I
think I plan for it all the time. Like, what would I do?
Aren't you supposed to try to break the window? Can you do that, or is the pressure going to be? And then if you don't do it right, it comes rushing in on you and you're stuck. What about your seatbelt stuck?
What if if I'm going over, if I'm still not scared enough, if I just hit the lift gate and then if I, in the back of my SUV, Brandon can maybe tell me the physics of this. If I hit the button for that, so that when I hit the water, if I'm still okay, I can get out of my seatbelt and I can just swim out the back.
What about the sunroof? That might not end well.
But I mean, the water's going to rush in either way.
Water is so heavy too. It's not just, oh my God, I get claustrophobic. I wake up about once every 5 to 8 days in the middle of the night feeling as if I'm being smothered. Usually by Craig or Jennifer.
I think about it. I think about going over like into the water with my car all the time. And you know why it is? It's because we had Derek Haas on from the Chicago shows, Chicago Fire, and his whole thing was when I said, "Hey, can I be on the show?" And he said, "Well, what did you think about like falling off a bridge? Can you do some acting for that?" I said, "Absolutely." And then after that, I started thinking about all the time, just when I have like free space in my head, like what would I do if that did actually happen?
You ended up being a dead hooker.
No, I still want to do it. I think you need to do that.
When we come back, we got to get him back on again. He was a fun guest. When we come back, John Talty, CBS Sports, and the power and the trends of general managers in college football. Tim Brando today at 4:00 and more. Craig is out this week, back on Monday. This is 365 Sports. And Dr. Kent Petty can help you become the high-performance man that you want to be, need to be, and used to be. And here's how he can do that. First, you got to contact him. He's not just out there going, hey, I wonder if Ricky has low T. If you have symptoms of low testosterone, your sleep habits they've changed. You're gaining weight, or maybe you got a little belly fat, and you're actually pretty active and you exercise and eat pretty well. Your attention with me is 100% always screwed up, but maybe that's an issue. You're lethargic, you don't have energy, and you know what? You might be struggling with your manhood, and also even being like having a sex drive. It happens. Low testosterone can have that. That can force a lot of those, if not all of those symptoms. Contact Dr. Kent Petty at pettycliniclowt.com. He can help you he'll get you set up with the appointment, by the way, to get your blood drawn, get the results. And if, in fact, your testosterone level is too low, he can put you in a program at pettycliniclowt.com.
It's my go-to guy. Can you fix my smartphone?
Yes.
You have car batteries?
Yeah.
What about golf cart batteries?
Of course.
Battery from a G-Fob?
Absolutely.
My boat?
Huge variety.
Toy boat?
Sure.
Motorcycles?
You bet.
My apartment building?
Whole building.
Do you have batteries for my party lights?
Yeah.
Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
Big savings are waiting at Allen Samuels in Waco during the Make This the Summer event. Check out the all-new Jeeps that are arriving daily. Drive off in a 2025 Jeep Wrangler Sport for just $29,990. Or grab a new Jeep Compass Latitude for only $26,700. The road and trails are calling, and ramp up your summer in style with the Make This the Summer event at Allen Samuels.
Come by, let's be friends. I'll never get used to this.
Whatever it is you wrangle, whatever seeds you sow, no matter what you nurture or what you choose to grow, at Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, we're proud to protect all Texans.
Developed by Startup Waco, a nonprofit organization, GXG is a program designed to support the entrepreneurial development of Baylor University student athletes through NIL activations. The program helps student athletes maximize their platforms and offers a comprehensive support system for them to create and grow new businesses that not only benefit themselves, but also uplift the local economy. Fans who wish to support student athletes can donate to GXG via the GXG NIL NIL Fund, BaylorBears.com/GXG. Contributions to support NIL activations through GXG can be made at BaylorBears.com/GXG. For more information, follow at GXG_GreenXGold on social media and visit the official website www.gxg.startupwaco.com. GXG, empowering student-athlete entrepreneurship and uplifting the local economy through NIL activations.
Make this the summer event at Allen Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram, where big plans start with the perfect ride at great deals. From weekend getaways to daily drives, your next new truck, SUV, or car is waiting.
Come by. Let's be friends.
You got batteries for my side-by-side?
Yes.
Replace my flashlight?
Sure thing. What about my business?
Ooh, good one.
100%. Batteries for my fleet of trucks?
Gas floor scrubbers?
Yes, and fire panels.
We have pallets of batteries.
Well, what about...
As your go-to guy, if it needs a battery, we have it.
Well, that's all you had to say.
Could have led with that. Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
This is 365 Sports.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
John Talty, CBS Sports, with us on 365 Sports. He's been with us on the show a nice chunk of times, and we appreciate him being on with us again today. John, trends, sports, whether it's football or basketball, people like to steal what works elsewhere or like the trends, defense, schemes, offense, whatever. The general manager, when it began, did you ever expect it to be as important or as, I guess, big as it is right now?
It's a great question. You know, I think when it first started, and the one that really comes to mind for me early on was Austin Thomas, who has had that position now at a number of different places. It felt like really more of a glorified title, more of a name than anything, than the actual power to do the position the way that we know that it is at professional level. But, since when Austin, I think really got that title to where we are now, a lot has changed that made it much more necessary, I think, for programs to have general managers. Of course, a lot of that contract negotiation, first NIL, now revenue sharing, just the management of a roster has changed a lot, I think, in the last 5 or so years. So you've seen a lot more get involved and feel a need to want a general manager. And like you said, it's a copycat league. So once it starts, popularizing, you see more and more do it. And I think just in the last 18 months or so, we've seen it become a lot more important and a lot more programs investing serious money behind it, with the top end of this position over the $1 million a year mark.
John, do you think that they will start more and more? Like, I think about Oklahoma and bringing in Jim Nagy, for that job. Will this start to work more like an NFL general manager job and not just and maybe take some of the traditional recruiting roles away from on the field coaches?
I think it's TBD in some ways. And I mean that because, and I got into that in my story, recently, it's that we're seeing so many different approaches right now. And I think Jim Nagy at Oklahoma is a great example of, it's a different operation. It's also, which I think is interesting, we've seen this at a couple places, not necessarily tied to the head coach. And I think, that doesn't work out with Brett Venables. Venables can lose his job and Jim could keep his. At other places, the GM is much more tied to the head coach, is even, in fact, maybe reporting directly to the head coach in a way that Jim is not at Oklahoma. I think how those different structures work could determine, like we said earlier, the copycat nature of it, which path people want to go down. We're seeing right now a variety of different things, whether it's a Jim Nagy approach. You've got guys who are much more recruiting focused. One of them I wrote about the other day, Vince Marrow, who was a top recruiter at Kentucky for more than a decade. He becomes Louisville's GM. That's more of this guy can recruit. He also can eval, but it's more based on that. Whereas Jim, more the eval side of things, personnel. Other guys are more kind of salary cap gurus. So it's kind of a pick your poison right now. And we'll see 3 to 5 years from now which one is the most successful. I think you talk to some of the college GMs like I have, and some of them are skeptical of the NFL impact. We've seen a lot of them hired in the last 12 months, and I think there's some skepticism as to whether it's gotten as close to the NFL model as some of them think, and also just whether they're going to want to deal with all the unique aspects of college football that make it a good bit different still than what it's like at the NFL level.
So many of these guys have different backgrounds. We know the story, and of course, we know James Blanchard. He was a website contributor. Crazy that he's become where he is now, and he's worked hard to get there, and he's hustled too. But the one from Michigan, Sean McGee, this just like, wow, I'm probably the only MBA who is sitting in this role. I'm probably the only quantitative economics major that's sitting in this role. I went to the Naval Academy. I'm probably the only one of those. And he also was a surface warfare officer. I mean, what a wonderful resume and incredible background for a guy where he is now.
Yeah, and he was also, this is more traditional, but also chief of staff for the Chicago Bears, and Michigan convinced him to come back. And I know Oklahoma was also interested in hiring Sean before they ended up hiring Jim Nagy. So he has pretty interesting background, and you've seen the impact that he has, and he played point man on them getting Bryce Underwood, and something that Michigan had been a bit more cautious in the NIL era. They of course won national championship, but then Jim Harbaugh leaves and they have a new coach, and they kind of get off to an early stumble against Texas. And I think it helped them realize that we need to be more aggressive. And he played a big role in kind of organizing the group, famously getting Larry Ellison and his wife involved to kick in some money for Bryce Underwood, the number one recruit in the country. But that just shows all the different paths you can take. But yeah, I think when I was reading about Sean and talking to people who know Sean, his background definitely jumped out to me as one of the more unique ones in the country. But it's also, I think it's cool because I can think I'm a pretty big baseball fan. We've seen those guys kind of pop up at the MLB level, whether it's some of the Moneyball guys that Billy Dean was able to scoop up, but everywhere from Yankees, Red Sox, Cubs, they're finding people with unique backgrounds, analytical backgrounds to try to help them find an edge. And I think Sean really fits that, that nature at the college level.
John, the other thing that the teams are doing is bringing in famous people to be their GM, like Shaq is the GM at Sac State for basketball. Andrew Luck was essentially the de facto athletic director, at least. He had that role in charge of the football program. Ron Rivera at Cal. What are those roles differ than maybe a guy like Jim Nagy or Austin Thomas?
Yeah, I think I certainly have a question as to what the Shaq, the Max Crosby, what those guys are actually doing. I think they're essentially volunteer roles. So I don't know if it's like maybe they help fundraise from time to time. Maybe they just wanted to add one more title to all the other things that they do. It's been kind of interesting to see those ones prop up. Maybe there's tax benefit that I'm not aware of, but those guys are really not involved in the daily level and not that hands-on level that the Austin Thomas and Jim Nagy and those have. But it is interesting that some of these guys have wanted to get involved, and you hit on. I think there's a couple of the bigger names. Andrew Luck, Ron Rivera, guy at UNC, Mike Lombardi, who's former NFL GM, been in the media game for a long time, and all those guys have real power. I think people are curious to what level of success that they have. I think Rivera and Luck in particular are in tricky situations at Stanford and Cal, especially, weird fit in the ACC. Both those programs have seen better days, and it's going to be hard for them in some ways to compete with this current world. But, they're in it. And both of those guys have booster level support, which has empowered them with, a good bit of leeway to do what they want. So we'll see at Stanford what that means long term, who they hire after the 1 year Frank Reich experiment ends, and at Cal, whether Ron Rivera wants to keep Justin Wilcox or maybe go a different direction if they don't improve upon last year's disappointing season.
What made Austin Thomas so successful? I know Ed Orgeron at LSU, they won a national title, but What was it about? What else is about his story that's led to him being like one of the guys that really kind of, I guess, he broke through and started this position?
Yeah, I think that's part of it. He's really the first one, I think, to really break through in some ways. There are multiple people who have been doing it for a long time that had, whether they were director of player personnel or things like that, maybe different titles. He's the first one to really get it, which I think helped, again, popularize the idea of having a general manager at the college level. I think he's probably either directly or indirectly helped a lot of guys get this job and a lot of guys get paid, which, I think serves as part of kind of revolutionary part of the sport. But he's also, from people I've talked to, he's good at hiring people. He's good at delegating. And I think he's good at gaining trust. And I think especially in the kind of the format of which the GM is tied to the head coach, having the head coach's trust, knowing kind of what they want and being able to execute it, or even being able to change their mind and kind of improve the roster based on what you know to be successful, can be really challenging. That's why I think you mentioned James Blanchard earlier. I think he clearly has Joey McGuire's trust. There's a guy at Alabama, Courtney Morgan, that clearly has Kalen DeBoer's trust, and DeBoer believes in what Courtney's trying to do at the recruiting level. I think Austin's good at developing that level of trust. And people I've talked to in the industry just looked at what LSU has done over the last year, where a year ago they were not as successful in the transfer portal recruiting as they needed to be. Were not as aggressive as they needed to be. Brian Kelly talked about not wanting to spend a certain amount of money on defensive linemen, and you look at what happened last year. They had a disappointing year, and it felt like, if they had a couple extra pieces, given what they had coming back at QB with Nussmeier, like, this could be a really good team. And I think Austin helped them execute an aggressive and strong plan in the portal. They had the number one transfer portal recruiting class, according to 24/7. They added a lot of guys, whether it's receivers, DNs, across the board. And it's really an all-in type of year. And if it blows up and they lose 3-4 games, maybe people are criticizing what Austin did. But I think if they make the playoff, like a lot of people think that they might, I think Austin deserves credit for helping reshape that roster.
We have Phil Bennett on the show pretty much every week, former longtime defensive coordinator, former SMU head coach. And we asked him about what he thinks about GMs. And he said it kind of has to work differently than the NFL, at least right now, is where in the NFL, the GM in probably 30 out of 32 cases ranks at least above or equal to the head coach. And in college, that's not the case. So basically the GM has to be, like you said, someone who has the coach's trust, where they take some of that stuff off the coach's plate of the coach tells them what to go get, as opposed to the GM who hires a coach that is going to work out the system that he likes the best.
Yeah, I think that's well said. And, I think that's why I think some of these marriages might not work out. I can certainly think of times, I'm unfortunately a New York Jets fan, and there's been times where, both GM and head coach are reporting to the owner, and they're kind of put together as an awkward marriage. And sometimes it feels awkward. And, we see that the NBA level, the GM, I can think of the Denver Nuggets, the GM wants Mike Malone to play certain players. Mike Malone doesn't want to play those players. They're not the ones that he wanted. And it can lead to these awkward power struggles. And so that's going to be, if the GM and head coach are at the same level, or basically if the GM is not having to report to the head coach, that'll be interesting. Again, Oklahoma seems like everything's working out really well right now, but maybe Jim likes guys different than what Venables wants. And that could be, a kind of a tricky thing to have to navigate. But if it's the traditional model of GM reports to head coach, traditional in terms of just at the college level, obviously not traditional at the pro level, that person's going to have to know what they want, and know how to execute it. But it's also, to your point, why some head coaches just are not hiring GMs. Kirby Smart doesn't want to do it. There's guys, Jed Fish, who has an NFL background. He hasn't done it. Talked to Shane Beamer, who kind of came through, some of that model of Kirby at Georgia. He's not hiring a GM because they're like, hey, the GM, how I know it at college, at the NFL level, I'm not going to empower a guy in my building to do that, because I feel like as the head coach, I still have to be very hands-on and still have to be the GM in many ways. So that, I think limits some of maybe the power that a GM can have, certainly in some of those different buildings. But for the ones that want to do it, that head coach and GM, they've got to be on the same page, or you're going to see some big mistakes.
John, one more question and thought from me. I tried to find the unique stories, and there's a lot of them. For example, Brandon Harris at Texas, he's not even 30. You mentioned that in your story. But then you look at those who have been able to stay through different coaching transitions, and that might be the case because, like you mentioned, with Nagy and who knows what's going to happen with Venables if they don't have at least a pretty good year. But Mark Pantoni has been there since Urban Meyer was there, has gone through a couple of different coaches that have won national titles and helped build their rosters. That says quite a bit about his staying power, doesn't it? Is that something respected by those in the business?
Pantoni's the godfather in many ways to the position. I think, I talked to a lot of different people for that list. Not a single person said a single bad thing about Mark Pantoni. He's extremely well liked, very organized, jack of all trades. Again, the fact that he can build trust with a guy like Urban Meyer and Ryan Day, for both of them to view him as absolutely critical to the organization, says a lot about him and speaks to his ability to, navigate this space. So Pantoni is like, I didn't rank them. Got enough people complaining without ranking them, just on who did or didn't make the list. But if you were ranking them, Pantoni would be at the very top of the list, just because of, again, the job he's done. We saw them win a national championship last year. No one needs to say much more than that. But just the amount of respect that he has amongst everyone in that industry. I think he even just won an award this week. There's a personnel symposium that happens in Nashville, and I think he was their executive of the year. He's just extremely well liked and very good at, Ohio State's a tough place to work. A lot of pressure. Ryan Day's spoken openly about that. Pantoni has survived, as you said, multiple coaching changes and has found a way to succeed no matter what. And so he's the guy that I think many view as kind of the very top of the profession.
John, great stuff. Appreciate your time. Always, when you get a chance, we can get you on the show. John Talty, CBS Sports. Again, the story about no position in college football has gained more importance or attention than the GM job. The money is booming. More programs realized they needed it and needed one. And with that in mind, he broke down with a survey the industry and what they were saying about those who are a part of that position. When we come back, it's a Tim Brando
Super
Wednesday.
Sorry.
Charlie Casado, why not Air Force to the Pac-12? Colorado Springs is a big market. I think that they had the chance. Did they not?
I think there
are some schools in the Mountain West, I thought, that
they
said,
had the chance,
thank you, but not so much that they flipped the middle bird or anything, but there were some that just were still hesitant.
Well, they didn't they knew what the Mountain West TV deal was, and they didn't know what the PAX was.
Right.
So.
That has a lot to do with it. I've always said it'd be great to have a conference with all three of them in the same conference, and including Air Force, Army, and, of course, the Naval Academy.
2 out of the 3.
Yeah, they are. When we come back, Tim Brando, a lot to say, a lot to get to, a lot of questions and opinions. That is next, and this is 365 Sports. Got some fresh copy points from Nick Colwell. He is the new general manager at the Baylor Club, which is inside McLean Stadium off I-35 in the Brazos River in Waco. They are celebrating, it's hard to imagine, 11 years. I remember when the stadium, the McLean Stadium opened up, what was it, in 2014? Had that amazing game with TCU, among others, and all the memories of really, really good and some, of course, of disappointing. Full football season specials coming up. For example, kicking off the day before they kick off with Auburn, Thursday night, membership open house on Thursday, August the 28th. Music from DJ Jen, and also get your game day gear available with those in attendance, including the Baylor Bookstore, Kendra Scott, Love Shack Fancy, and more vendors as well. Join them for the ultimate game weekend experience. It's on Friday night against Auburn, Knox Hall tailgate, before the Baylor-Auburn game, featuring Lucas Sousa in concert. An ESPN live broadcast, family fun, complimentary tasting from Valley Mills Vineyard, Swing Waco Golf Simulator, and so much more. All of that available when you are there. If you run into somebody who's anyone attached to the Baylor Club, tell them you watch and view 365 Sports, the Baylor Club, inside McLean Stadium off I-35 in Waco.
Big savings are waiting at Allen Samuels in Waco. Drive off in a 2025 Jeep Wrangler Sport for just $29,990, or grab a new Jeep Compass Latitude for only $26,700. The road and trails are calling. And wrap up your summer in style with the Make This the Summer event at Allen Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram.
Come by. Let's be friends.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Pizza, burgers, and Bears football. There's no place around Waco that serves them all other than Bubba's 33. Come show your green and gold and enjoy some of Waco's best food and beverages while watching your favorite team, the Bears. When real Bears fans get hungry, Bubba's 33 is the #1 spot for ice-cold drinks, hand-stretched, stone-baked pizzas, and bacon-infused burgers. Join us for indoor or patio dining. Bubba's 33, Waco's restaurant and proud supporter of Baylor Bears football. Sick 'em, Bears.
Don's Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. Don's Humidor in the Townwood Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
Ready to take your business to the next level? Carrion Solutions has got you covered. We deliver world-class IT consulting, including Quest On Demand and Migration Manager, M365 and Exchange migrations, Active Directory assessments, security hardening, and Windows Server upgrades. Our experts specialize in consulting, monitoring, support, and managed IT services. We promise vision, professionalism, and unbeatable value. Satisfaction guaranteed. If you're not happy, we make it right. Remember the name Carrion Solutions. For more info, email sales@carrionsolutions.com or visit carrionsolutions.com. That's CARRION solutions.com. Carrion Solutions, IT success guaranteed.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
This is 365 Sports. Text us at 254-339-1122. The text line is sponsored by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
Well, we got some news. Tim Brando had his days mixed up. He is in L.A. at his Fox Sports, where they bring everybody together for the upcoming college football season, and he is out. He's not going to be able to hit us up, and so he will be on with Paul and Garrett tomorrow, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
we're gonna unleash Brandon on the world tomorrow a little bit.
What?
We're gonna piece it in.
So wait a minute. We have our own little powwow tomorrow, don't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, you forgot about that.
Yeah, no,
it's
at 10:30.
Well, it's going to be an all-day deal, but we're supposed to be there from like 10:30.
We're slotted for 2 hours. Yeah,
I'll be there until I see somebody. If I see somebody, I'm out. Garrett, why did you tell me to say that? Okay, that's an inside joke, maybe. So we do not have him. He said he's sorry. He should be on tomorrow, hopefully. And I think, you guys think about my mental capacities. This is like he's in a slump.
Well, he's also your same age. So, it's, I worry.
It's going around, man.
Yeah. I worry,
All right, so I'm sorry about that, but we'll have him tomorrow. Now, what we do have, which might be more entertaining, most of the time, a lot of our core is what's happening with college football in every possible way we can imagine, or you can imagine. But we could always rely on Jerry Jones and the Cowboys to be a topic. And you may say, I don't want to talk NFL. The numbers when we bring up Dallas and Jerry Jones, like anywhere else, which I sometimes try not to do because that's what he likes, and I've said that's what he likes. He loves the attention. He basically almost admits this. Our good friend, I knew Jane Slater. She's a UT grad. She was doing television in Tyler, then went out to Denver, and she's been covering the NFL Network, covered the Cowboys, but she'll cover the Saints, etc. They had a scrimmage. What was it? The Rams and Cowboys. You mentioned that earlier, Paul. Mm-hmm. And this Jerry Jones and Micah Hudson thing continues to build. I do want to give Bobby Belt a little bit of credit. 105.3 The Fan with Sean and RJ. He earlier today said he got a chance to speak with David Milgetta, and that he didn't share a lot because Milgetta's not going to do this in the media, but that when talking to other people, either in the Cowboys organization or in the NFL, he got the feeling that, not from Milgetta, but that Micah really is to the point where he might be playing a negotiating ploy here on saying, I want to be traded, but he literally is fed up, tired, annoyed, and Jerry's taking some personal shots at him and whatever. Yeah. So Jane Slater, she's unbelievable. Good friend of the show's. And she had a chance to catch up with Jerry following the scrimmage with the LA Rams.
Looked at the calendar. CeeDee Lamb got done.
It froze up. Let me try this again. Mm-hmm. And it's not going to work, apparently.
You know what? Jane did not want us using her inventory.
Brandon could have done that.
Thanks, Paul.
I'll go basically with what he.
Can we try it one more time?
I'm trying to find it and reload it. Give me a second.
All right. Yeah, go ahead. You go ahead and filibuster, Paul.
So, look, Jerry asked even before this, like, is Micah going to play in the first game? He's like, well, that's up to him. He says he's not playing, like, he's not super planning on it right now. They have not spoken since the trade demand happened last week. They've only, according to Bobby Belt, they've only spoken to the agent twice in the 18 months that this has been going on. And I'm going to say twice in the 18 months that this has been going on. So again, they had a year and a half ago, they could have started this and been done with it, but they've decided to drag it out to this point. And Jerry, like we heard from John McClain, is breaking the rules by thinking he can negotiate with just a player. It's concerning.
Well,
it's very
concerning. Not the first time, but you have to talk to the agent.
Yeah.
The NFL.
Especially if the player doesn't have an agent,
right,
then you can talk to the player. But when Micah walks out and goes, call David, and he's like, I don't need to call David. I talked to you. You're like, no.
Here is Jerry answering yet some of the information or the questions about really what is the background on, is there an agreement or not?
I looked at the calendar. CeeDee Lamb got done August 27th. Dak Prescott, September 10th. Is there a date on the calendar that I can put down for when this Micah one's getting done?
No, not at all. And I had not looked at the proximity of those dates at all. But, it takes two to make these things go. And I think everyone appreciaets that. But when I look out here at all the players we do have under contract and practicing and build a team, then I put that in its proper place as far as timing is concerned. But I'm not I've got an October birthday, but other than that, and that one I want to forget. Seems like that those contract dates you just talked about jive with that birthday. And maybe there's something to that.
Well, you also have The Gambler coming out on August 19th. That would be a good part of the press tour, right?
Well, it is going to be previewed here in Los Angeles, and so that'll be a part of it up there. And we will certainly see a lot of players involved there that I've had the opportunity to do a lot of negotiating with them.
All right, let's talk about the negotiations real quick. It's my understanding nothing was put in writing. So how would you describe a deal getting, so to speak, done and then walked away from?
I bought the Dallas Cowboys with a handshake. Took about 30 seconds, and I gave the number, shook hands. The details we worked out later. As a matter of fact, one of the details involved a lot of money, and we had to flip a coin over that. But the fundamental, I'm buying and you're going to sell it to me for that range, that's done. And those are done with eye contact and handshake.
So was there...
So just so you understand why the way that I communicate with people that I negotiate with. So but let's leave it at that. There is no question that in the case of a player contract, you have to have it in writing. All parties do. We have a contract in writing, yet we're still talking about renegotiating it. So much for that.
So what's the sticking point for you right now at this point?
Again, there are no point. There's points of varying degrees of influencing, not having something done, but nothing that I would say is out of the ordinary.
My last question for you. It seems like some people sort of recoil from press, whether it be good or bad. When did you first decide I might like some of this, whether it's good or bad?
Well, I don't know that, frankly, if it shows, I think maybe what you're seeing is how much I've liked being a part of the Cowboys for almost 35 years. That's really what's showing. Necessarily a dialogue with press. I enjoy the people and men and women of the press. We both made a very conscious decision, the press and I. We decided to spend the majority of our life and time in sport. We're brothers and sisters, really. Now, we don't treat each other that way when we get the criticism going, but that's okay, too. That's not a big problem. What I find is that that's why I was the first one to ever put a camera in the draft room. I found that our fans enjoy getting in behind the scenes. They get to enjoy, Clarence does, telling the fans about nuances of contract negotiation. I don't want to sound condescending. I'm just saying all of this is a part of sport. I've always believed that, and that's why in my 35 years I've encouraged a lot more visibility, a lot more candor, a lot more of this regarding a lot of times very sensitive subjects, but all of it related to the Cowboys and sport and having some kind of interest. So fun is not what's happening. What's happening is I'm enjoying the whole show. I don't know that I've worked a day in my life since I bought the Cowboys.
Well, I hope we get a series finale on this particular storyline, but I always appreciate your candor and always being kind to us.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry.
All right, so he, all but at the end, in the last question that Jane asked him, he admitted he loves this.
Yeah.
He loves the attention. He loves the back and forth with the media, whether guys that have blasted him in the past, whether it's Randy Galloway or if it's Dale Hansen or anyone now, he thrives on it. I said that when the story about Micah was demanding a trade. I'm not going to change my mind. It's a little bit different maybe, but in the end, he absolutely is smiling. He does seem to be a little bit annoyed personally at Micah. The back issue. Here we are. We have a contract. We have a signed contract, his original contract, but here we are renegotiating.
Yeah, but
when he mentioned if he signs a new deal, is he going to want to renegotiate that one early too? So he's taken a few pot shots at Micah, who I think is an overly sensitive hell of a player, but I think Micah's one of those that doesn't really react to that like some of these other players who just went about their business.
Yeah, and, his argument falls apart on, we had a handshake, we did this, we did that, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so call the agent and say, here, let's do it. If you know what Micah wants and you know that he's told his agent what he wants and you know he and his agent have talked, so why is it done? Because you won't call the agent. So that's the thing that, I did this deal with the Cowboys with a handshake. Yeah, well, Micah's also not in debt like the Cowboys were. So I'm sure, what it was Tex Schramm, right?
It was Bum Bright.
Bum Bright, yeah, Bum Bright.
And others that were a part of the partnership.
So, so when Bum Bright needed to sell the team, also like a handshake between Bum Bright and Jerry Jones is a little different between Jerry Jones and a player. Like Bum Bright and Jerry Jones are the same guy, right? They're the same kind of dude. They're big businessmen. They're oil tycoons. They're all these, deal makers and all that. Micah Parsons is a defensive end / linebacker. Like, it's not the same thing. So when he tells you this is why he has an agent. And also,
who has been rated the number one agent by Forbes magazine in the NFL.
So he's an agent. So that's all you got to do is call him. You called everybody else's agent. Why you're not doing this? It's just, and it's hurting the chemistry of the team. Like, it
is a distraction.
It's a distraction.
Bill Dingspeed. Bill, perhaps Micah's agent should call Jerry's team. He has.
Yeah.
He's reached out to him. Now, I don't know how recently. It might not have been the last 6 or 8 months, but if you listened, and when I listened to, when I'm working out, I listened to it because they were talking about with Bobby Belt having the conversation with David Mogetta, who's the agent for Micah Parsons and the number one rated agent in the NFL, that they actually wanted to open this up back 18 or 20 months ago.
Yeah.
So he's made it clear, hey, we're open for business, not the Brett Yormark open for business, but he's made that comment before. So I don't know. Mike is sitting down, by the way, one-on-one with Jerry. Can lull you in, man.
Mm-hmm.
He can lull players into his office or on the field. He's good at that. He wants to be everybody's friend at the same time, businessman, and he's done this before. And I can see where players can get like softened up with that. But Jerry can love you to death, but he's still going to want to get what he can get. And in the end, are they losing money in the end? Would they have more money to spend during the year rather than the next year? I don't know. I really don't keep up with that quite as much. But James Slater with a hell of a deal. Appreciate that video.
They could save themselves money by setting the market and not reacting to the market. Like, that's
by setting the market. Others are going to pass you by that would raise the bar that you're not going to have to now raise yours above what they set. Is that right?
So
I hope that made sense.
Yeah, and he's the best player on the team. And then, like, this is 3 times. Like, who would you say the top 3 players on the Cowboys are, Smokey?
They would be CeeDee Lamb, Micah Parsons, and I guess you'd have to say Dak.
Yeah. And all of them, they drug this out for no reason.
Every one of them. Last year, when Micah Parsons' agent, who told Bobby Belt this, and again, Bobby's 105.3 The Fan in Dallas, when he told him is that Jerry's response was, if I got this correctly, is that we've got a lot on our table right now. On their table at that time were other players who were up that needed to be renegotiated, including their quarterback and the wide receiver in Dak and CeeDee Lamb. And so you can do 5 or 4 or 3 of these at one time. It's not that hard.
It's not.
It's pretty much going to be what it would have been 18 months ago. No,
but more.
It's going to be more because the Myles Garrett, among others, have signed.
But what you do is you take deals. TJ Watt and Myles Garrett's contracts and all that stuff, and then you pretty much copy and paste, add 10%, and that's what you've got.
Yep.
When you could have saved 10%. And Jerry believes that deadlines make deals, but they've never once saved him money. Never once.
Not that I know of.
No,
okay, for example, you have player A who's up for renegotiation, and if you negotiate it and get it done, now a lot of it has to do with what room you have yourself or what you have you want to push into the future, whatever, is that if you do it now, there's a number. It's especially when you have the best player maybe at that position. That's debatable. There's 3 or 4 at that position that are very good. But when you have to renegotiate Dak and then you let that go on for months and months and months and months, how many quarterbacks signed new deals from the time when you could have extended him at the beginning when it was time to do it, rather than wait until, what was it, like right before the season started last year? Same thing with CD, and the price goes up.
Exactly. And here's the other thing that the Cowboys have not mastered. And it's not like it's a new thing. The salary cap has been around for almost 30 years now. I mean, it's been around for a very, very long time. And they're terrified of it. They don't know really how it works the way that other teams do. And other teams know that one day that the bill is going to come due. But if they're being aggressive and doing all the things they do pays off on a lot of wins and big time wins in the playoffs and Super Bowls, then it's worth it. And they also can gird their loins, right, for the coming hit that they know it's going to happen. And then they start accruing draft picks and they start doing other things so that when that does happen, we're going to have 4 fourth-round picks and they're all probably going to be on the roster that first year, but it's going to be kind of a clean out and we'll do what we have to do. But, the salary cap has effectively taken away the way that things used to, like things ran during the Cowboys dynasty, and they just can't do it the same way anymore. And they've never figured it out. They're afraid of it. And they keep saying, well, we don't want to run up against the cap. We don't want to do this. We don't want to do that. Blah, 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 blah. What future are you building for if you haven't won the Super Bowl in 30 years?
Yep. No, you're right.
Yeah.
One other NFL note, and then we break. The NFL and ESPN now will have 10% of their company owned by the NFL. With that deal that we discussed with Patrick Crakes earlier on Monday, NFL will own 10% of ESPN. And some of the concerns is, man, the NFL's monstrous. A lot of this has to do with the red zone, et cetera. How does that affect journalistic or the ability to report negatively against somebody who now owns 10% of your company?
Yeah. It's a troubling trend in media going on where the subjects you report on have financial interest in your company.
When we were in radio, we were the flagship station for Baylor, and everybody has that station in the markets they are, although some things now are going to apps or whatever. But there were on a couple of occasions, and not just during the scandal, but there were times where you'd get a phone call, and I do believe even before I arrived, there was the conversation between somebody in Baylor Athletics and somebody that Paul worked with about being a partner. No, you are the flagship station. You might have a lot you do, you cover. There's things that you can do together as far as promotions or whatever. You're going to carry the games. You might get a little better access because that's part of the contract of being a flagship radio station. But you never want to get so deep with that relationship that you cannot tell the truth or report something that is not good.
No,
you lose. There's no gray area. You can't.
Yeah, you can't. You had to look, and during the scandal, we went. Right into the teeth of it. I was covering the trial. I was the only sports reporter who was, and there were all these things that other people weren't doing, and kind of sitting around, and they could say, "Hey, we're the partner." All right, that's all well and good, but it's essentially an advertising relationship too. And if they wanted to end that because they were unhappy with the reporting of the truth, that was something we were going to have to run the risk of, right? But we were the only kind of game in town, so we were fair about everything. We were truthful and fair about everything. And if you're going to do that, that's fine. But it does wonder, like, okay, when do the NFL owners go like, hey, I don't think you need to this. Tete-a-tete between us and the Players Association. You don't need to.
Somebody brought this up. Wasn't there a series that ESPN had called The Playmakers?
Yeah.
Yes, it was
and
awesome.
Didn't the NFL?
The NFL put the kibosh on it.
Did they not?
Yeah, they did.
There you go. And that's before they had 10%. So what's going to happen now when they have 10%?
Well, also, look, sometimes it's putting in reporters that the owners like. Remember
last fall when Jerry, they sucked and they started getting into it with RJ and Sean. He said, I'll get somebody else who could answer these. I'll get somebody else in there that could ask these questions. No, now he's got power, but that was him. That was a dumb comment by Jerry because insinuating that he would control I guess what is covered or who asked the question. They can do that. They can try it. But that was very, very immature with Jerry saying that. Now, one other note about the red zone. Jimmy Traynor covers media. there are concerns about ESPN changing what is a great feature. Now, you guys help me out. I watch the part of the NFL Network. I do have this on my cable where I can watch when people the red zone.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
So they're going to use the red zone, and they might create a college football. They might
create a college football red zone, which
I
would be
pass out
like that. That would
I'd be so happy.
Yeah, NFL will still produce what is the NFL red zone, which is what I watched a lot because Washington last year was better than we could have ever imagined. So they weren't on a lot. I could have gotten the ticket. I didn't want a Sunday ticket. I didn't do that. I know you could even go online, whatever, but I watched it a lot last year. I watched it. I was watching it live. In fact, right after Jaden Daniels threw the Hail Mary on the touchdown against Chicago, that was kind of like, that's when you knew something was weird and different and better about this team. Also, the ESPN NFL deal will not be in effect for the upcoming season, but the next season. And Scott Hansen, who's an incredibly popular anchor of that and does a voice of a lot of, like his is a voice, like at the Super Bowl, you hear him in the PA area, just signed a new 4-year deal, so he's not going anywhere. So there we are with some concerns about ESPN acquiring the red zone and the 10% ownership the NFL has in the network. That's a very slippery slope. This is 365 Sports. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lakeshore Drive in Waco is a premier, elite, life-changing experience where you can change your mind, body, and soul. A pursuit of a better you with fitness programs. I've told my story. In March of 2013, I weighed over 280 pounds, and now for several years, I've been in that 190 to 195 bubble, and it has been so nice. You know, the anxiety, the worry, and if you've been overweight, you understand this, or you've gained a few pounds or inches, waking up and getting ready to go to work or get up and go do anything, and wait a minute, the pants are starting to fit a little tighter. The shirt is not quite as comfortable. Get rid of that anxiety. Get rid of that issue. Get rid of those inches and that weight, and have a personal trainer like I did with Christy London help you out, and they've got plenty of them. They have the new Life Fitness Synergy 360 with numerous stations that members can use, and you're not crowded up against each other. New cardio equipment, a new elliptical machine that is fantastic. In fact, a couple of them. You can get personal trainers. You can have group exercise classes. You can get yourself fit and stop worrying about what you can wear or how you feel or looking at the scale. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
Alan Samuels House of Travel is a full-service travel agency with highly experienced travel consultants plus support staff with over a combined 150 years in the travel business. They are ready to take care of any travel situation for you, your family, and your business, and with the kind of knowledge to complete a seamless itinerary trip start to finish. They will search for the best deal to accommodate your budget from air to cars, ship to shore, hotel, and even meeting space. Name a destination and they've been there. They know the places to go, and international and missionary travel is one of their unique specialties. Alan Samuels House of Travel, celebrating 50 years in business. Call Connie, Sherry, Linda, or Bambi at 254-776-2560 or find them on Facebook or at houseoftravelwaco.com. Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, a wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trust. Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302. too.
Established in 2007 and independently owned, Alliance Bank Central Texas is committed to helping families and businesses meet their financial goals. From their tellers to their board of directors, they know the importance of superior service and competitive products. Customers have confidence knowing that their financial needs are in good hands. It's your bank, Alliance Bank Central Texas, with 2 Waco locations, 4721 Bosque Boulevard and 191 Archway Drive on Highway 84, and at AllianceBankTexas.com. Member FDIC and Equal Housing Lender.
Want to send a message to the show? Jump in the Rudy's Country Store and Barbecue chat room.
All right, remember yesterday we had quite a bit of discussion about, was it Monday or Tuesday, we had discussions about unions, collective bargaining.
Yesterday.
And so much more. So I received an email with, actually it was a text message from Steve, who is out of Ohio. I shared that text, and then also Steve responded with yet another one. I'm going to read this. It's too big to put up on a graphic. Smokey and Paul, regarding your segment on CBA, collective bargaining, and unions, take it from a guy who took a job years ago who was basically a referee in company and union negotiations. I'm not pro or con for either entity. The complexity of starting a union with college athletics is real. Laws have been on the books forever. 30% of prospective members is needed to get the NLRB, National Labor Relations Board, involved. A 50% in favor makes things easier to proceed. Using college football, getting all players' initial information would be monumental task. Let's say somehow that was achieved in 2026. 50% showed interest. In 2027, the challenge starts. Every player that is out of eligibility is 2026 or no longer pertinent.
Yeah.
And now it's getting the incoming players involved to keep the number of 50% or higher. The transfer portal will also be a hurdle, a big one. Asking Congress to carve out special laws for college athletes isn't going to fly. These laws have been on the books for way too long. If anyone believes that special laws that benefit college athletes will work, but current unions aren't included, that may have benefits for them, NEA, Teamsters, UAW, that's the United Auto Workers, would be in court in a nanosecond. I won't even go into specifics about right-to-work states versus non-right-to-work states. I'll leave you with this. Unless a union sees strength in numbers, why hasn't current established unions jumped in to bring college athletes in as members? Just my 2 cents worth. Loyal viewer, Steve in Ohio.
That is great information. That is a great part of it, and it shows how complex it is. Whatever they build for a college athletes union is going to have to, or it may not even be that in the purest sense of the word, but they're going to have to find a different way to do this than it's traditionally done.
I just pulled out a little bottle of water, and most of it's in the cooler. But okay, all right.
Sorry, but you have all these like traditional mechanisms, like you talked about. The laws are on the books for a reason. You know, again, if they start carving out things that are special for college athletes, well, the UAW, they're in a constant fight. The teams are constant fight. They're constantly fighting for all these things. So you're going to have carve-outs for this and carve-outs for that. And then you're going to create the domino effect of which, look, no one in college football should care about, the United Auto Workers. They're not helping them out either. It's not that. It's just the domino effect of what would happen in triggering it. And then he does mention right-to-work states and non-right-to-work states. So, like Texas, we're a right-to-work state. We don't have really unions here unless something gets, unless it's a unique thing. So you don't have union employees here. So there's a bunch of colleges here in Texas that play football. So how does that all work? It is such a ridiculously complex issue, but that doesn't mean they need to abandon it. But I think the greater share of the mental energy and the energy on what's the next phase of this needs to be put into figuring this out as opposed to figuring out how to roll back time, because that's what they're trying to do. And that's why they keep losing. So instead of trying to waste all your time and energy and money, the money, into rolling the clock back, invest it into rolling the clock forward and find something that's functional for today, for now, for the realities of the situation. And that is a super important thing. And look, if it's as simple, like it might be as simple as just saying, you guys are employees and here's your salary. And then the unionized thing can come later. But that might be the simplest thing. And then you do all that. But because they don't want to say that they're employees because of what that means for, Social Security, pensions, there's all these things. It's a very complex issue. And I'm not just saying when I say I'm pro collective bargaining to do it tomorrow, but like they need to start down that path. I am curious as to why he mentions other unions not reaching out. Like, why hasn't the NFLPA just said, let's create a wing for college athletes?
Did we not? Was it not about a week ago, and correct me if I'm wrong, that when collective bargaining or the antitrust, whatever that was being discussed, and all the professional sports said, hell no?
Yeah.
They didn't want to see that?
Yeah.
All right, here's a response from another viewer. Assuming that's accurate, those are very interesting comments, as he does bring up the key point about why it hasn't happened yet, coupled with the challenge of keeping the union going. Quite honestly, I hadn't thought about the challenge of players moving in and out of the system. Very keen insight.
Well, I mean, like if you're
and then another response from Steve.
If you're an auto worker, you're not just usually an auto worker for 4 years.
No, I mean, usually a lifetime profession.
It's something you're going to do for a long time because you went through the training to learn how to build a friggin' car. Like, so you're not going to be like, 4 years is good. Now I'm going to do this. Like, usually that's an adult job. It's your career. You're the guy who builds the transmissions on a BMW. Right? That is what you decided to do. And so it's very different as opposed to where sports is fleeting anyway. So you have this, and what does the union mean down the line? All that for the guys that don't go professional. What's their pension? What's their insurance? If you think about the Screen Actors Guild, Amanda loves those Hallmark Christmas movies, right, Smokey?
That's so
you know what I'm talking about?
That is,
yeah.
Yes.
You
know what? She's always been such a kind human being.
She really is.
That's an influence for her.
So, yeah. But I will walk in while she's watching one, and sometimes I'll see an actor, like a longtime character actor that is in one of these movies, and I'm like, why would you need to do that? You don't need the money, but they do need to keep their insurance. So why not pop up to Vancouver for 15 days and be grandpa in the Christmas movie and shoot. You probably have 5-6 days of shooting overall. And you're just there in Vancouver, chilling out and getting craft service for a couple weeks, and you get your insurance for the year because, when you're a 59 to 70-year-old actor, you probably.
Why do you have to use that?
Well, I'm just saying that.
Why do you have to go to that age bracket?
Because you're not going to need to hustle as much as a 26-year-old actor will. Although you will see, they will. You're established. You've got money. You've got established things, but you need to go keep your insurance intact. So you got to go work.
Right.
and do those things. So how do you keep all that going? It's
you got to be active.
Super detailed and complex.
I sent Steve that text on the response, and then his response to this is shorter. That was always one of the major issues that a company would bring up in a contract negotiation. Everyone at least once should be in the room during a contract negotiation. It's quite the experience. Things can go from 0 to 60 very quickly and get nasty and personal. So there we are with a response. Thanks to Steve for the response and at least his feedback, who's been a part of unions. I've never been a part of a union. I don't know enough about them to where I'm anti-pro, whatever. It's part of I get what it is. I have worked, though, at times where those who are members of a union have helped with the broadcast. Like if I was doing, for example, a TV sportscast from California, and there's a satellite truck back in the day, the guys who were working at Channel 8 in Dallas, the cables, the lighting, the cameras, the guy on running the truck, they were union. And the only thing I ever wondered, and sometimes it's the same thing when I see people guys have these hard jobs on highways or streets that are repaving. Or maybe, have you ever driven by where you see 4 guys standing around a hole and one guy's dug the hole? And then one guy, and these guys, they have hard hats on. And I'm not trying to make fun of them. And Garrett, I may not be going where you think I am, but there's 4 people standing around a hole and one of them might be working.
Yep. Yeah.
Because only this guy can do this, or girl, or this man or woman can do this. And that's always been one of the things.
Yeah, this
man.
guy's like the other 3 guys are pipe fitters, but they can't go in there until the electrician gets done. Like, I never assume what's going on there, because I know that whatever those 5 people are doing, I don't want to do it and I don't have the expertise. So, here's what I think about unions. I think in a lot of regards they are necessary, and then there are others ones that may be excessive. And just like anything, sometimes unions can become too powerful. I hate to use the teachers unions as an example, but for example, in New York City, they have this big building where teachers who are under suspension just go and sit all day and collect a paycheck because it takes so long to adjudicate these cases for, malfeasance among these teachers and all that. And New York's, got a billion schools. So if you've done something wrong and you get teachers suspended, you send them to this building and they just read the paper all day.
Yeah, but they're getting paid. Somebody put
so
this
it's not efficient, and maybe that's because the union got too powerful. But again, if you go the other way, then you have, the jungle.
Justin R. That's literally what Venus Williams did when she re-entered and played in the WTA Tour a few weeks ago. She did it to keep her insurance active. And Jayhawk champ, SAG, Screen Actors Guild, requires you make $24,000 a year to qualify for insurance. I think that 70% don't qualify. That is a bad career choice. So thank you for a couple of the feedback. Yeah.
Yes, being an actor is something that you were doing on a prayer, a wing and a prayer. That's for sure.
Former BYU quarterback. We will have him on next. Is Riley Nelson, played back about 15 years ago. What are his thoughts about BYU late in the spring? We've had Kalani Sitake on to talk about it, and some other BYU players during Big 12 Media Days in Frisco. What are his thoughts about the quarterback room and all of that and more, and where BYU is? Riley Nelson is next, and this is 365 Sports. Alan Samuels, Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat Loop 340 and east of 84 in Waco. And the month of August, they're carrying over a lot of what they had as far as the deals, incentives, and more when it comes to what they have, when it comes to their trucks, cars, and SUVs. Ted Teague, one of the sponsors that we have for when it comes to Academic All-Stars. They've been a sponsor since day one of our Academic All-Stars program. And I'm telling you, they pay part of the scholarship money because of their support of what is able to give back to the student athletes who win. But let's get to the cars and some of the deals that they have at Alan Samuels going on in the month of August. You can it's Make This the Summer event at Alan Samuels, a 2024 Ram Crew Cab starting at just $43,990 right now. Don't miss out on the savings. Also, there is the 2025 Jeep Wrangler Sport for just $29,999, or grab a new Jeep Compass Latitude for only $26,700. That's also part of what's going on. And the 2024 Dodge Daytona Scat Pack or Jeep Wagoneer S Launch Edition 0% for 72 months or $20,000 off MSRP. It's Alan Samuels, Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat, Loop 340 east of 84 in Waco.
At Sturdy Steel, we build more than grandstands and press boxes. We build the spaces where communities come together. Based in Texas and serving communities nationwide, we're proud of our reputation for dependable, high-quality work and strong client relationships that stand the test of time. From concept to installation, our team of skilled drafters, welders, and installers takes pride in delivering seating solutions designed to last. With a focus on dependability, transparency, and service, we are here to make the unique needs of architects, contractors, schools, and venues across the country. We ensure every project is seamless, sturdy, and ready for generations of fans to enjoy. That's Sturdy Steel.
Automatic Chef is your local vending, office coffee, and micro market provider, delivering outstanding service to break rooms all over Central Texas for over 50 years. Automatic Chef brings the best products to your location at the best prices. With hundreds of choices in fresh food, coffee, snacks, and drinks, let Automatic Chef tailor a break room solution to your needs. Make break time great again with Automatic Chef. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchef.com.
Baylor alumni are more than 160,000 strong. When we all join hands to support our university, we don't just move the needle, we move mountains. Working together, we create life-changing opportunities for students on the field, in the classroom, in the laboratory, and in life for generations to come. So get connected, get involved. Learn how at baylor.edu/alumni.
There are 26 letters in the alphabet, over 600,000 words in the dictionary, and just 3 of them said together can change everything. Let's order pizza. Those 3 words lead to dough made from scratch and 3 fresh signature cheeses that blanket golden crust in a heavenly melt on Marco's Pizza that'll blow your mind. So visit marcos.com to order and stop by Marco's Pizza in Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Penny Clinic Men's Healthcare in Woodway is now proud to offer you men an exceptional weight management body sculpting product called semaglutide, also known as Ozempic or Wegovy. Semaglutide is an FDA-approved weight management medication. Once-a-week injections of this powerful medication offers an average body fat weight loss of 20% within the first year of treatment. In addition to body sculpting, semaglutide also normalizes blood sugars and has the clinical research proof of reducing blood pressure, cholesterol, stroke, and heart attack risk. If you're like most men and you have stubborn fat that will just not respond to typical diets and exercise, then help is finally here. Semaglutide, affordable, highly effective. Google search Penny Clinic Waco and reach out to the Penny Clinic team today for a free consultation with Dr. Penny to see if semaglutide is right for you. Go to pennycliniclowt.com.
This is 365 Sports. Enjoying the show? Hit the like button and subscribe.
Riley Nelson will join us here momentarily. College football realignment news. No, please don't be the ambulance chasers. We're not saying that. But remember, we had the young man that covers the Mountain West Conference. JY. Here is the news I've been waiting for. The D1 board adopted a resolution. Remember when we had the note from Ross Dellinger about the D1 governance board, which specifies that for a 5-year period, no changes can be made to membership requirements for existing Division I schools at other conferences.
Yes. So
they can't pivot and go, okay, now you have to do this too, right?
Yeah. So schools like he mentions Charlton State here that are trying to improve their station, or the Mountain West who might be trying to get a team like North Dakota State into it. So in teams that are Division I on the FCS level, moving up to the FBS level, like Sac State trying to do that, they can't just arbitrarily change the rules for 5 years. So those schools who have already started that process can finish that process. Now, after 5 years, well, we know in 5 years, everything's going to be the Wild West again. It's going to be nuts, potentially. So after 5 years, they can go and revisit that, and we'll see where we are. But that is good, because I do think that there's probably some concern on the half of that, very large block of schools that only makes up 35% of the voting, that they're going to be like, well, we're just going to change all these rules now so that we can, we can make sure that nobody else tries to barge their way in. Well, look, on a larger scale, this is like, okay, so Texas Tech decided it wants to be a blue blood, right? well, what if like a Sacramento State is appearing to decide that they want to be a blue blood?
Well, they're absolutely being aggressive.
So
yes.
they're being aggressive. Now, that's a long play, but they're taking the new world of college athletics and hitting the gas. So they're already mad enough about Texas Tech, who's been in this club for a while. They're not going to be happy if somebody like Sacramento State or, all of a sudden a bunch of people move to North Dakota and they think it's, hey, let's be a big time school now. It's different.
Yeah. And to me, it's kind of fun. I think there are some fans that are like, man, this is pretty cool what Texas Tech's doing. They're hitting it. The timing has been perfect for them. But they could have just sat back on their hands and done nothing about it. They had a plan. We've heard about the meeting between those in the hierarchy, and now we'll see how it produces and the success they have during the upcoming season. Do you know what the big chat talk is right now?
I'm sure it has something to do with fake phalluses in the WNBA.
Yeah, it has to do, one, you being our WNBA aficionado, although I got to tell you, this Sophie Cunningham, Emery was very much a fan of hers. I don't know.
Did you see her tweet where she's like this age 12?
Would you please? So there's this trend. There's been like 3 or 4
green
dildos thrown on the court during WNBA games in the last week. This is now, this is now a trend. This is something that people are picking up on. They've been able to get them into the arenas and throw them. And one apparently glanced near or by or on Sophie Cunningham.
Yeah.
Which would have made me faint had I seen that. All right. So she tweeted out. What did she tweet out, Paul?
She tweeted out before, stop doing it. And
Stop
then this,
throwing
some
dildos. Yeah.
And then, this today, she's like, well, this aged poorly, But look, as much as I really want to laugh about it hard, it is such a stupid.
There's nothing wrong with you laughing about it.
It's such a stupid thing. I wouldn't want things thrown at me on the court. Like any athlete doesn't want things thrown at them in the court, especially something like that where you really have to question where it's been. And
God, I didn't even see that. Not one time.
That's the first thing I thought.
That's not in any way that I think about the fact
I didn't
where
think
it's
they went
been.
to the store, unwrapped it out of the package, and thought cleanliness. Like, no, I honestly,
they went to some place that's off of the highway, Venus and Mars, whatever they call those places, right?
Most of those places don't really exist anymore.
So stop throwing dildos on the court. You're going to hurt one of us. And the very night, the next time she played, this did not age well as somebody threw a dildo at Sophie Cunningham.
Yeah, this is just stupid. And I feel like it's just bros doing it.
The bros are on the rise now, man.
Yeah. So
let me tell you something. There are more men watching the WNBA than ever before.
Yeah, and great. Just be a little more mature about it. That's what I would say. Or find out what kind they like and throw those down there.
See, here's the difference. I'm just doing the story, and you're getting like real.
But look,
you got gross with it.
I've thought about this.
Although it doesn't have to be gross. Sophie Cunningham, and I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
I think
with a former BYU guy isn't on the show.
No, God knows. He would absolutely hang up on it.
Wow.
Good God.
So
he'll be with us, Riley Nelson.
Yeah,
oh dear.
I
didn't even think about that either.
Why wouldn't you think of it?
I'm thinking about Sophie Cunningham and a dildo.
Here's what you're thinking. You're just thinking about the act of like, the grenade throw. I'm thinking about all the path of like, who's doing this?
Why are they all lime green?
Yeah, why that?
Maybe
so you can see it better. I don't know.
Get what?
So you can see it better when it gets thrown, I would think. Oh my God. Yeah.
Never thought we'd be discussing dildos, but here we are.
Yeah.
And
this
Arby's
is not going to make 365 Sports tonight.
Can we talk Arby's sandwiches too? Oh my God. It's a nuclear missile.
Yeah.
Spotted on the highway near the stadium.
And look, I'm sure the WNBA just wants this to just go away. And
no, they don't.
Or part of them wants this to go away, but part of them also has to know that no press is bad press. for a league that is burgeoning in a way that it hadn't before.
No, yeah, absolutely. So, let's just say that, Paul, you go to your next time you go to a WNBA game, which would be your first time. You have to be someone that looks like you probably are hung pretty well to be able to put one of those in your pants, right?
I did not think about.
That's a great question because I thought
where are you going to put it in your pocket?
You had to have clear bags.
Yes.
So how the hell are you getting this in if you have to have a clear bag?
You have to walk in and got to have baggy pants or something.
No, yeah, I think it's pretty easy. You wear the hoodie. And it's got the pocket that goes all the way through.
Well, here's the thing. If you're a security guy.
Now you have to pat people down.
Pat people down and you feel that. You're like, whoa.
You're going to empty your pockets. And you're like, oh, sorry, you got me. Here we go. All right, we better stop now.
Do we take a break here?
Yeah, let's take a break.
Let's take a break. This is so bad timing. When we come back, former BYU quarterback Riley Nelson. He's next. This is 365 Sports. Ideal. MRI.com. If you have an ache, a pain, something that's more than just like a muscle that's sore, but something that is shutting you down. One, you may not be able to walk the same, and that could be your back, not just your knees or hip. You just are uncomfortable. You are almost to the point where all you want to do is lay in bed and hope the day goes by because of the pain that you have, or it's excruciating because of an injury, and your doctor wants a better look at your muscles and ligament. Ideal MRI. Ideal MRI in the Central Texas marketplace off I-35 in Waco has the state-of-the-art imaging machine, and they, from the very beginning, have said $497 or less every single time. The average MRI is $1,100 or more. In fact, when I was down to see Phil Bennett the other day and going to play golf with him, he was talking about he had gone to go get an MRI, $800. Somebody else that was in we were in the men's grill after the round of golf, having some appetizers and a drink. Somebody had paid $1,300 for an MRI. At Ideal MRI and state-of-the-art imaging machine, it's $497 every single time at idealmri.com.
In our logo and advertising, we say we are people that you can count on. What does that mean? It starts with providing a quality vehicle and quality service at a fair price. But it also means we do what we say we will do, and we treat people fairly with respect. It starts by hiring great people, good local folks who work hard with a caring attitude. Our employees are the real reason we are people that you can count on. Put us to the test and see for yourself that at Richard Carr Motors, we are people you can count on.
Parenting is full of surprises.
You never know what to expect.
So after our son was born, I called my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent to set up a life insurance policy in case something happened to me.
Sawyer is now 2.
And we'll soon have a sister. There's no one else I would trust with protecting my family.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Developed by Startup Waco, a nonprofit organization, GXG is a program designed to support the entrepreneurial development of Baylor University student athletes through NIL activations. The program helps student athletes maximize their platforms and offers a comprehensive support system for them to create and grow new businesses that not only benefit themselves, but also uplift the local economy. Fans who wish to support student athletes can donate to GXG via the GXG NIL Fund, BaylorBears.com/GXG. Contributions to support NIL activations through GXG can be made at BaylorBears.com/GXG. For more information, follow @GXG_GreenXGold on social media and visit the official website www.gxg.startupwaco.com. GXG, empowering student athlete entrepreneurship and uplifting the local economy through NIL activations.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine now has 2 locations to serve you. The original on Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street and the brand new spot in downtown Waco at 600 Franklin Avenue. If you're looking for the best in craft beers or local Texas bourbons, then the original is the place to be. And for the latest trends and online phenomenons, head downtown to the Franklin location. Either way, you're going to get the same great variety, customer service, and speedy experience. Check out both locations on their Facebook and Instagram pages, Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street, and now downtown on Franklin Avenue.
This is 365 Sports. Check out the 365 Sports family of channels on YouTube.
Riley Nelson, former BYU quarterback, with us on 365 Sports, and Paul Catalina with me. We appreciate your time as we begin this last hour of today's show. Riley, thank you very much for being a part of the show. So I want to start with this, and thank you for your time. I really do appreciate it. We do. What does it mean when you are the starting quarterback at a university, at a program like BYU that has had so many great quarterbacks?
It means, well, for the kid individually, or for myself individually at least, it was a dream come true, and really the validation of a lot of hard work. Listen, well, am I a college football Hall of Famer like Mark Wilson and Steve Young and Ty Detmer and Jim McMahon? No. Like, was I a Heisman Trophy either winner or finalist like a handful of guys? Neither. But I still, when I earned the right to be able to put my name up as guys who have represented BYU as the starting quarterback, and our teams did marginally well. Again, no national championship like Robbie Bosco and them were able to pull off in 1984, but we held our own, a couple of double-digit win seasons, and a lot of that, it means for you as a kid that that all that hard work that you put in is great. And now the other aspect of it is when you're actually in it, it means that actually at this time when I was a quarterback at BYU, they told me that the most highly visible athletes, and actually while I was there, the Jazz were down. But normally it's like whoever's best on the Jazz, right? Right. Where Donovan Mitchell, or it was Karl Malone, and then after that in the state of Utah, it is the quarterback at BYU. So locally out here in our little region, our little state, you are the number one, number two sports celebrity in this market. And so that everything that goes along for that, you go out to eat, people want to stop you, ask for your autograph, take pictures, you go shopping, you try and spend a quiet day at the lake with your family, and people are coming up to you. But all that's part of doing business, because that's what you spend all those hours for as a young kid, working towards that ultimate goal. And so it's all part of it, but it does carry with it a certain level of pressure, but it's a welcomed pressure because you get to represent the Y and sling the rock, rock together in a great line of quarterbacks.
Well, you have three guys at BYU right now vying for that job in camp. None of the three thought they were going to be doing that thing 6 weeks ago. That they were going to go in and camp was going to be, let's see who can be the backup. I want to see how much better I can get so that when Jake Retzlaff graduates, I'm going to be the next in line. That was the goal. Now that timeline has moved up. How much does that change your mentality going in when you start from a position of I'm not going to be the starter to I might be the starter? I've got to ratchet this up a notch.
You would hope not very much. And I'll speak to my personal experience. When I entered the program, I was my first year at BYU, which was actually my sophomore year because I went on a mission. I will put that aside. But my first year at BYU, Max Hall was the starter. He was going into his senior season. Max Hall from 2007, so 2008 and 7, 8, and 9 became the winningest quarterback. No one won more games as quarterback than Max Hall at BYU. We won 39 games. But going into that senior season, which, by the way, Max started and played every game, and we won 11-2. But in my mind, I was competing with Max. Nobody else's mind I was. In other words, I guess what I'm saying is I hope it doesn't change those individual players' mindsets too much, because I would hope they'd already have the pedal down and we're competing for Jake. And while not vocally or not externally we're vying to take his job, but internally, that's what I was doing. And it really helped prepare me for the next year when I did find myself in a quarterback competition. And then 2 years later when I found myself in another one, right? And so I would hope that for those guys, not much changed in their day-to-day. Now, for a program and for an offense, it's big because the other 10 guys in the offense and maybe the defense are kind of put it on autopilot. And they're like, all right, we don't have to worry about the signal caller. We don't have to worry about who's handling the leadership. We don't have to worry about, that guy knowing what he's doing from week to week. We've got an established guy with, 16 starts under his belt there. And all of a sudden, so it's much more of a change for the other 10 guys on offense and then the other guys throughout the locker room. At least hopefully it would be than it is for those quarterbacks, because in their minds, those quarterbacks were already competing for a starting quarterback job, even though there wasn't an open quarterback competition.
Is it also like, for example, you go to BYU because of their history? You mentioned Max Hall, Detmer, among others, and Gifford Nielsen, Steve Young. So many. Heck, Steve Sarkisian was there, the head coach at Texas. And I could go on and on and on because there's that many. So if you go play quarterback at BYU, you're pretty good in the first place, right?
Yeah, and what's so interesting is all three of these dudes are transfers. And I guess that just speaks more to the environment of college football. You'd think that BYU coming out of high school, the quarterbacks would be, begging, vying for the opportunity to come and play in such a storied and hallowed program. And yet here we picked up a kid from Western Michigan, a kid from Utah State, and a kid from Stanford, right? Even though Bachmeier played there, but he was enrolled there. So you'd think that more kids would be clamoring, but also it's the nature of college football that you have to go and find the best player, and with the ease of player mobility and all of those things. But each one of these guys can play in their own right. I'll if you want me to go in depth, but I'll save it because I'll save my in-depth analysis and pros and cons of each of those players unless you guys want it. But the interesting thing about these three is it's definitely not homogenous. Like, they have very distinct skill sets and very distinct strengths. So it will be very interesting to see which one rises to the top, because each one of them, I think the offense will look significantly different under each one because of what they bring to the table.
Last year Jake didn't win until the week of. It was announced then that he'd beaten out Gary Bohannon, and that was gonna be the starter. And then when you hear that, you're like, well, Gary Bohannon's probably gonna wind up starting some games, given that it came down to this point. And then Jake played really well. This was a team that fantastic on defense and all those things, and they were able to navigate that. You don't want to have to do that twice, but it looks like they're going to have to. How much does Kalani Sitake's even-keeled and compassionate attitude kind of help with that, as opposed to maybe there are coaches that are really successful that would not have handled that well because they're too keyed up.
Yeah, so you talk about compassionate. And I don't think I'm out in anything. I think Coach has admitted this. If you follow BYU, and when I was on the radio call and all of that, he would admit as much in postgame. It feels, because of the way he is so even keel, he is so mild mannered or mild tempered when he's talking with the media and when he's at media days and all those things. But make no mistake, that dude has extremely high expectations and holds everybody to those expectations in an undeviating manner. So he's extremely demanding. He's not demanding in that he'll dress you down in front of the team. It's actually more of a kind of a quiet demanding, in that he makes clear what the expectation is. And if you don't meet it, there's no warning, there's no chewing you out, there's no screaming. It's simply, go grab a seat on the bench, son. You weren't meeting expectation, and the next guy gets his chance. So that's how Kalani Sitake's everybody works, because so many people ask me that question. Like, Kalani seems like such a nice guy. How does he compete in the cutthroat world of college football? It's like, he is a nice guy, I guess what I say, he's figured out how to do that without ever attacking the person. And he does that via expectations and a culture of excellence that he holds every player to. And by the way, he does it at a program level, but each one of his assistant coaches do that. And so Jake was able to, I think, meet that standard well enough throughout the season in the quarterback room last year to where they didn't have to go. But make no mistake, had Jake's performance been hurting the team's chances to win on the field on Saturdays last year, they would have done just like they would have at any other position. And especially if they believed that Bohannon had given them a better chance to win, we would have seen quarterbacks swapped out. But Jake was lucky enough to keep, his head above water, so to speak, when it comes to those demanding expectations.
Do you think, because that was always simmering, even though BYU, I think they had their spring earlier than normal, than a lot of programs did, these are all transfers like you mentioned. Could they have planned that this might be the case by the time they got to summer?
Yeah, that's a good question. And timelines and everything are foggy as far as flow of information from the time the civil suit actually dropped and all of those things. And so that's outside of my pay grade. I'm not close enough to the program to be able to speak on that. But you'd hope, I guess the one thing that you would say is that, and it pains me to say this, but I truly believe it, and so I got to use it. But the majority of this Utah staff built and was part of that great run and that rise of the Utah football program when they entered the Pac-12. And the Utah football program was able to have whatever success they did in the Pac-12 through player development. And so my answer to your question is, I would hope that their just foundational player approach to player development would have prepared these guys as best they could, so that when something comes completely out of left field like this has, that they aren't left completely, desperately looking for something. That rather those players, there was adequate time, strategy, and thought given to each of these three guys during spring so that they were being developed. Maybe not developed as the starter, but developed as football players overall. In the event that one of them was needed, they could step in and do their job. So I know and trust it was done at a program level standpoint, but individually, I don't know that there's any, at least from what I know of how this whole thing went down, it feels completely out of left field to me. I don't think there's anything differently that they could have done other than they have done and do right now, which is put these guys through the absolute refiner's fire and hope that whoever emerges on the other side is good enough to help this team accomplish its goals.
They have a really good roster around whoever the quarterback's going to be. I mean, their defense is really good. Their running game, you think, is going to be pretty good. The receivers have all been good. I mean, and they have this knack of kind of getting these guys that, like, out of nowhere that you've never heard of, like Cody Epps and Puka Nacua. I mean, like, and then they just kind of show up. What is it developmentally? I know a lot of people say, well, the guys are older, but most people have been through the mission like you. So it's not an advantage at all, because if you get to work out at all on a mission, like you might be in Boston, Massachusetts, or you might be in Rwanda or something like that. You can be in a lot of different places. So you don't have that. What is it that allows them to develop so well?
And yeah, that's a great point that you bring up about the mission. And listen, I'll listen to anybody that will say it's an advantage emotionally and psychologically, but anybody that wants to say it's an advantage that wants to say it's an advantage physically, and that, your bodies are that much more mature and this and that, that is a complete and utter wash. But you talk about how are they so much able to develop these guys. Being developed as a football player is tough, especially if you do it in a program with a lot of other good players, because inevitably you're going to face disappointment, you're going to face adversity, things aren't going to bounce your way. The thing that a mission might teach you is to be a little bit more resilient. It'll teach you that, listen, not every day is popcorn and candy. Like, sometimes you pick up your lunch pail and you got to go to work, and that mission experience teaches you a lot of that. I mean, like, guys, a lot of people out there, like, voluntarily asking to join religion and sign up for all of the stuff that being religious entails. It's not a product that a lot of people out there in the world are buying these days. Yet guys sacrifice 2 years. And so in order to do that, and not just suffer through that, not just endure it, but rather in order to make that a positive and productive experience in your life, you develop those traits of resiliency and dedication and hard work. And then when you bring those back and apply them to football, I think that increases BYU's pool. They have more players with those attributes more developed, which is how they end up getting more developed football players, because they have less guys that, let's say, get offended by a coach and decide to transfer out of the program. Or they have less guys that say, well, this position coach has it against me, I'm going to go, rather than playing safety, I'm going to go try and play outside linebacker. Now you got a guy that was a promising safety who's now undersized at backer, and he's positioned wrong on the field, right? You've got guys that are less inclined to cut bait and run, and more guys who are willing to, like, dig in and see it through. I would accept that guys can attribute that to the mission experience, but then also, and I know Kalani's talked a lot about this at media days and others, but that's also a significant requirement of just guys of the traits that they look for in guys coming out of high school is do they have those things? When I heard the lengths that BYU goes to in talking to not just their coach, but like their coaches it's almost like private eye type stuff, going around talking to teachers, talking to administrators, talking to neighbors, talking to members in the community, all trying to make sure that this kid has the accurate makeup of traits. I think those are the type of things that lend itself to BYU being a really good proving ground for football development.
All right, so they have three young men that are getting the snaps and reps: Hillstead, Bachmeyer, and Bourget. Can you feel comfortable? I know you're comfortable enough, but to kind of give us a read on each one of them, whether it's the strengths or maybe things they got to get better at.
Hillstead, I'll start with him because at least recent reports from yesterday's practice, which had an extended media availability, is that it looks like he might be the early leader 6 practices through. Yesterday was practice number 6 in fall camp. He spins it the best by far. He was a state championship winning passer here in Utah. He played for a school called Skyridge. Our perennial powerhouse is Corner Canyon. He beat Corner Canyon and threw for, I think, 385. It still was I think it's the most passing yards that Corner Canyon's ever given up in a state playoff game. And so the dude just spins it. He's got a knack for anticipation. Even for being a little guy, he's got enough arm strength to be able to, drive the ball when he needs to, put some pace on the ball when he needs to, put some touch and air under it. So like he's got all that. His problem is, contrary to whatever he's listed at, that dude is 5'9", and in my estimation, maybe 190 pounds. And he's not a naturally thick guy. You look at his skeletal build, you go back and look at him in high school, he's probably more of a basketball build than he is say maybe a wrestler build type, right? So the biggest knock on, I think, why Hillstead hasn't won the job already, because Roderick's looking for a skilled passer who's going to make great decisions, right? So it's like, well, why haven't they handed over to Hillstead? Guys, in today's P4 environment, in today's Big 12, what's the probability that you give a 5'9", 185-pound kid of lasting all 12 games? So it's hard to give the keys of the car over to the guy that, could blow a tire in mile 1. Now, that could happen with anybody. No one knows better than BYU, who had Taysom Hill for 4 seasons and 3 season-ending injuries. That doesn't matter how big a freak you are. Football is a brutal sport that, where injuries are inevitable. You just hope that luck balances your way. Bourget is probably like their most well-rounded quarterback, in that he's got more mobility than Hillstead, and he throws it well enough, but still he's got a little bit of a long release, and he struggles at times with decision-making. He gets caught getting the ball out a little bit late, and that can lead itself to turnovers, which is going to be a big no-no in Roderick's offense. And then you got Bachmeier, who, of all the guys, he looks the part. He's the dude coming off the bus that you're like, man, his muscular development is there, his movement development is there, but this guy's never taken what he doesn't have that the other 2 guys have is they've started games and taken snaps at the Division I football level, and Bachmeier hasn't. So for all intents and purposes, even though he did have the 1 year, he had the Stanford enrollment, he didn't see any live bullets, and so he's still a complete unknown. And so that's like, why don't you give the keys to the car to that guy? Well, we're not exactly sure how he drives it. So that's kind of the lay of the land there. I tend to think that Hillstead's going to get the first chance of this thing, simply because as you lay their attributes out on the table, and if you're not, he cannot control his size, right?
Right.
You lay their attributes out on the table. They're really close in a lot of areas, except when you come to passing ability and accuracy. I think McKay Hillstead has a significant step on the other 2. And at the end of the day, that's what you want your quarterback to do. Is it nice to have a quarterback who can run? Yeah. And is it nice to have a quarterback who's big and resilient and take hits? But what are all those old linemen for, if not to protect him, right? What are all those running backs you got, if not to go get those hard yards between the tackles? You shouldn't be asking your quarterback in a primary role to go do those things for you. In this offense under Aaron Roderick, the primary role that you're asking your quarterback to play is make good decisions to take care of the football and deliver the ball accurately, so that it's a weapon for the offense. So given all those things, I think the nod at the end of all this goes to Hillstead, but I can see it going to the others as well.
Yeah, when the story first came down that he was going to be gone, that I saw Hillstead probably more often than anybody else was who the analyst or those who were covering the story, not just from the BYU perspective and media, that he would probably be the guy initially, but they would have options if that did not work out. That seems like what you're saying too.
Yeah, and look, guys, it's not all about size, but so I met Noah Fafita who's a starter at Arizona, right? Another Big Ten quarterback. And first of all, Noah's a solid 5'10". He might even be able to get away with 5'11" on a good day. But Noah was always like a thick kid. Like he's got between his belly button and his knees, he's thick. He was always built that way. So it's almost more of a not Kyler Murray, but maybe more towards a Kyler Murray type build. I don't know. Maybe you guys. I mean, you're covering the sport. You're covering the conference. A slight build 5'9" guys, you just don't see him, and so you kind of got to ask yourself, like, what does he got to do? What does he got to prove to be able to trust that guy? And I don't know if there's a reasonable threshold to do that.
I mean, you got to be athletic as all get out. I mean, you have to be one of those guys. I mean,
even then, you're going to take some shrapnel. You know, you could be the toughest SOB out there. You could be built like a blank, you know what I'm saying, house, but you're going to hit some you're going to have some shrapnel. So the odds are most likely you're going to get dinged up and then maybe harder to get back in if you do.
And the other thing is, we saw this. He took why I think was he week 4 at Utah State when he got his first start as a true freshman at Utah State 2 years ago. So why didn't he finish out the rest of those games? Because eventually he got, and you can go look those hits up on YouTube. Like, the dude gets ragdolled, and it's just a tough proposition. But man, when you watch the guy throw, it's a thing of beauty. So everybody finds themselves conflicted.
You know, look, you can be Doug Flutie. You know, you never know, right? I mean, and do that, but man, it's just. This is not that same league he was in, though, too. You know, this is different. So would you not be surprised, though, that, like, if they did in fact play 2 or 3 guys this year, like, just because of the fact that, you know, Hillstead's, you know, 5'9", 5'10", whatever. They've listed him at 5'10", 185, but I don't think you totally believe that.
No, I told you what I think. Take an inch and 10 pounds off, and that I think that's a little bit more accurate. And look, we all know how these weigh-in go. Everybody knows. Come on, fellas. Everybody knows when weigh-in is. So you're drinking the milk jug to the very last moment that you're stepping on the scale, especially if you're a lighter guy. Well, that's for the lighter guys. The heavier guys aren't eating 2 days before it. But it's point in time weigh-in anyway. No, look, you bring up Doug Flutie or you bring up Kyler Murray, but like, these guys were – McKay Hillstead is a great athlete, but he is not on that level. Like, anyway, so your question was, could I see multiple guys?
Yeah, they're not going to play rotation on this. This is not going to be –
I don't think it'll be rotation. When I think multiple guys, here's what I think. When Roderick joined the staff in 2018. They started the year with a veteran senior, a guy named Tanner Mangum, and we saw 2 quarterbacks throughout the course of that season, and it was what could potentially be a similar situation to that. So they knew Tanner, they kind of knew his limitations, and they had a guy by the name of Zach Wilson, who had just come into the program and was a freshman and was working his way up. And over the course of that season, it was Tanner got the first few. Then there was a couple. Then we started seeing Zach getting worked in some special packages. Then we started getting him a series. You know, normally they waited till they were up 28 before they put the 2s in. Now all of a sudden they're putting the 2s in late in the second half. Up 17. You know, and so although that year they weren't very good, so it was maybe more on the other side of a loss. And then by the end of it, I think they gave Zach the last 3 or 4 starts that season. Then we all know Zach Wilson ends up being, you know, he adds his name along the BYU grades and ended up being the second pick in the draft. I can see a situation like that if they believe Bachmeier is that level of talent. I know, at least from what my eyes tell me, Bachmeier is not that level of talent as a thrower specifically with Zach. But Bachmeier, and I played with Taysom Hill. Taysom Hill was a freshman my senior year. And when I said another quarterback competition, I had to fend off Taysom going into my freshman year. Luckily, Taysom was this goes back to your mission, guys. We track completion percentages. Taysom was fresh back off his mission from Australia. If he would have completed, heck, even 50% of his balls, my job probably would have been in jeopardy. But fall camp, and he went on like a heater the last week to get to 41%. He had the hardest time completing balls back out of his mission, just simply because his hand wasn't there, his mechanics and all that stuff, and he was like 6 weeks back. So obviously Taysom Hill's become one of the all-time, you know, great all-around football players there. Bachmeier is more of that build. Like, he's physically impressive and he's got all the athletic tools, but he's super raw on some of the finer points of quarterback play. If he can show a lot of if he can show a lot of progression during fall camp, such to where they want to continue development, it might be one where we see multiple quarterbacks play in a scenario like that, where they don't think Bachmeier's ready to take bullets out the gate, and they don't want him to experience that many scars and disappointments and negatives. And so they kind of let a more seasoned guy take some of that. But the long-term play is that by the end of the season, you've passed the torch to a guy that shows a lot of upside potential. And that could possibly, that I see as while I'm not saying it is a likely scenario, but I'm saying as far as multiple quarterbacks go, that is what I see as the most likely quarterback scenario if BYU does that. But I still give the probability that they're going to try and pick a horse and ride it. In my opinion, they have too good of a contingent of offensive weapons. They feel like the unit's too good to be able to be playing games with it. And when I mentioned the Zach Wilson story, the team wasn't that good. So they felt like that was the right year to do something like that. This team is different. I know BYU feels that they've got a defense that will compete for the top defense in the Big 12 and in a top 10 defense nationally. I know they feel that they have a special teams unit that can be an utter game-changing unit. And I know they feel that while they might not have like huge first or second round draft pick type names on offense, I know they feel like they got a lot of really good players. So this is a team that I think, like with Jake Retzlaff had the goal, like the non-shy, outspoken goal of competing for a conference championship. I think given the uncertainty, they backed off that a little bit, but I think the belief remains that with 21 other guys, they feel like that's a squad that can win the quarterback. So if they can that's a squad that can win the conference. So if they can find that one last position, that quarterback, and he can be even serviceable, it still puts him in a position to compete at the top of the Big 12, which is why I don't know that they mess around with kind of like a rotation or multiple guys in the same game type of thing.
Well, last year after they had a 5-0 start with a win at SMU, beat Baylor in Waco, and also hammered K-State, you said then, and it was 5 games into the season, that they have absolutely a chance to win the Big 12 or compete for the Big 12 title, which they did. The loss to KU eventually derailed that, but hammering Colorado in a bowl game. So you kind of saw that. We'll have you on again once we see a few games under their belt, and then also get a read from you then. Paul?
I know that Max Hall was the quarterback when BYU beat Oklahoma at AT&T Stadium. Were you on that team? That game was crazy. That was a crazy, crazy game. And I really here in Big 12 country, every Oklahoma fan in the world was like that. I don't know how that happened.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you how it happened is our DN, Sam Bradford, didn't learn how to fall or get sacked, right? Yeah. Rather than trying to if you know you get got, as a quarterback, at least I was taught this, if a guy gets under your arm when you throw, you try all your best to go to your front. Because if it's on your back, you risk your head whipping back and getting a concussion. Of course, you get on the side, you risk shoulders. Sam the guy got up under him and just goes right to the side. Listen, I'm going to take the win, and you won't hear it from me, but I will say some have said that if Sam Bradford doesn't get hurt, the ball doesn't go that way. But the fact remains that he didn't know how to fall when the guy got under his arm. He left the game, and that's one of the proudest, best victories that I was a part of during my time at BYU, even though I didn't even take a snap. But that was my first game suiting up for the Cougars. So, boy,
wow. Awesome. So, like that's one of those things that – who was it that we had? Was it Derek Deese we had at the Super Bowl one time? He was played for the 49ers, and like his first year they won the Super Bowl, and he thought that's how it was going to be, and they never did again.
This is going to be fun.
That Oklahoma game, and you're like, well, this is how they're all going to be, right?
Yeah.
And your first one, you're like, well, no, it's harder than that. It's a lot harder than that.
Yeah. Right, great stuff, man.
Oh, go ahead.
No. Go ahead and wrap it up. I was going to tell you this is a great segment. People in the chat talking about it as well. We'll get you on again, but go ahead and wrap it up. That'd be good.
Thanks. Oh, no, I was just going to – I'm getting old enough, fellas, that you get me started and all that. And I was just going to say, we came down to DKR and we had Texas on the ropes, but the ball didn't bounce our way. We ended up losing that one by 3 rather than, win it. To your point earlier about you thought all of them you were going to slay all the Giants. Unfortunately, throughout the rest, we were right there with them. My senior year, we lost to Notre Dame by 1 when they were ranked 3rd in the country. Anyway, I would have loved to have had them all been like that, but unfortunately, that one against Oklahoma was my only giant killer. We beat some other ranked opponents, but never to the level of Oklahoma. One of the ones with you guys being in Texas, one of those was Texas in 2010 or 2011. Had them on the ropes. We couldn't close out the game. Notre Dame in 2012. But boy, it was so special. At least I'll say this, which a lot of other college football players can't say. At least I got that one. They can't ever take that one away.
Yeah, exactly.
And I just saw this. Somebody said, ask him about the high five with the referee against TCU at Cowboy Stadium.
Yeah, that was in Cowboy Stadium. So back and forth. I think his name was Pascal. This is, of course, back in the Gary Patterson days.
Yeah.
Just awesome defense. And he was a tall, I think Pascal was his last name or something like that. He had tattoos down all his arm, big lanky QB. And then they had, his nickname was Tank. Good middle linebacker. Anyway, they had a great defense that year. We were in a shootout in Cowboys Stadium. Yeah, so we had missed an extra point earlier, so we were forced to go to 2. So we do, sprint. It was sprint right option was Montana to Dwight Clark, right? On the right side, we ran sprint left option because I'm a lefty. And they had covered it up. Actually, I still remember I got chewed out because the tight end was there early, but I was a little late. But I liked my legs, so I trust my legs. Anyway, I win a race to the pylon, but I had to go straight, flat, vertical to the ground. And I stand up, and the ref was like hesitant on his call. And I point at him, and I was like, I got in. And then finally, like, the hands come up a little late. And
you did not.
But I reach out and gave him a high five and go, nice call. You got that right. Sure enough, the knee stayed up, but I was more everybody thought it was like a celebration or something like that. But it was like a genuine, like, good call, buddy, because I got in. So
Tank Carter, by the way, the linebacker, Tank Carter.
He was a great player. And then they had a safety with dreads. I can't remember. He was number 21. He was a great player. That was a great defense. I can't remember how good that TCU team was. Obviously not as good as, like the Duggan or some of the later ones, but that was a good battle down there. Anyway, that was to tie it up, I think, beginning of the fourth quarter. And then they went down and scored again. And then we turned the ball over, I think, during 2 minutes and ended up walking out of there with a loss. But a lot of great memories. Thanks for humoring me, fellas. Always love to be on with you and look forward to being on later in the season.
Bud Carter, the safety, 21. Bud Carter, I believe, is who you're talking. Hey, Riley, great stuff. Appreciate you. We'll get you on again once we get a little bit of meat on the bone with the quarterback play and have you on sometime after 2 or 3 games. Thanks for your time. We appreciate it.
Love it. See you soon.
Riley Nelson, former BYU quarterback. Man, he is good. Very insightful, breaking down the game, the quarterbacks, the competition, and the memories. Thank you. Who was that in the chat? That I think it was at Sathe, S-A-T-H-E. Ask Riley about the high five during the TCU game. So
I remember that game. I remember that Notre Dame game too. I remember that Notre Dame game that they lost by 1. Anytime that 2 religious schools play against each other, I'm going to watch it. I don't know. I guess what it is. I always think that you get to say the other one is right for the year. So as the Catholics versus the Mormons, you guys
TCU and Baylor. None of them were going to church. Most of the time they were. Yeah, no. I mean, that was. In fact, was Carter the one? No, I don't think it was him that intercepted Petty in the 61-58 comeback. Maybe. Remember, there was a pick by a linebacker that was the one that put TCU up 58 to like 30 something, and you just thought it was over. It was over. Absolutely, the game was over. And then Baylor didn't panic. They ran the Shock Linwood. They ran 8 to 12 to 15 yards a carry, and they got the sticks and moved. The clock stopped and much more. BYU football, BYU Notre Dame is truly the holy war. Not Utah and BYU. Bobby B, great segment. Thank you, guys. Appreciate that. And we're not done. We'll have Paul Catalina at his top 5 just around the corner. Couple of other notes we'll get to. Also, Andrew Valade and his poll results. And this is 365 Sports.
Edward Jones Financial Advisors Ben Erlinson, Brad Wilson, and Cam Heathcott understand these are difficult and changing times we live in, but they know how important your financial investments are to you. So is your financial advisor staying in touch with you and helping you navigate today's financial climate? Invest with Edward Jones Financial Advisors Ben Erlinson, Brad Wilson, and Cam Heathcott, who invest their time and experience back to you and your money. And like coaching athletes, investing money is about time, patience, and encouragement. Contact Ben Erlinson at 254-759-8533. Brad Wilson's location at 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, and Cam Heathcott in Conroe. Edward Jones Financial Advisors, Ben Erlinson, Brad Wilson, and Cam Heathcott, proud sponsors of 365 Sports. Edward Jones, making sense of investing, member SIPC.
Pizza, burgers, and Bears football. There's no place around Waco that serves them all other than Bubba's 33. Come show your green and gold and enjoy some of Waco's best food and beverages while watching your favorite team, the Bears. When real Bears fans get hungry, Bubba's 33 is the #1 spot for ice-cold drinks, hand-stretched, stone-baked pizzas, and bacon-infused burgers. Join us for indoor or patio dining. Bubba's 33, Waco's restaurant and proud supporter of Baylor Bears football. Sick 'em, Bears.
Big savings are waiting at Allen Samuels in Waco. Drive off in a 2025 Jeep Wrangler Sport for just $29,990, or grab a new Jeep Compass Latitude for only $26,700. The road and trails are calling. And wrap up your summer in style with the Make This the Summer event at Allen Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram.
Come by, let's be friends.
1, 2.
I'm in love with a man named Rudy. I'm okay with that. He knows exactly what I want. He keeps me coming back. He cooks breakfast, lunch, and dinner for me. Does the dishes too. I'm in love with a man named Rudy. Last name Barbecue. It sure is easy to fall in love with Rudy's tasty oak smoked barbecue.
This is 365 Sports.
The 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Investments with financial advisor Ben Erlinson, who'll navigate you through today's financial climate. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
Craig is out today, out this week. I will be out tomorrow and Friday. So God knows what's going to happen while I'm not here to monitor after the shenanigans of what went on today when these heathens
started that.
Started talking about the WNBA and stuff. By the way, Roger, very professional how 365 extended that interview to fill the Brando time. Actually, Riley Nelson was great. We will have him on again, and I hope some people remind me he was fantastic after we get some evidence with BYU and the quarterback play. So appreciate those of you. And it's always great, like the chat that asked him about the TCU high five. I didn't know what that was because I Googled it. Of course, you could find a lot of things, and then there it was in the end zone high-fiving the referee. I'm surprised the referee didn't throw like a 15-yard unsportsmanlike penalty.
If it would have been somebody else. Or
it could have been somebody with no sense of humor, right?
Right. Well, it also didn't happen against Texas. So
there you go.
But Roger, actually, when Brando, right before we're about to go to him, I'm told he's not available, and hopefully he will be tomorrow. And I understand he's at the Fox Sports. They do that big retreat, whatever. But the reason we didn't have anybody else scheduled in the hour was because he was going to fill 45 minutes for us. So thank you. I think that was a backhanded compliment, or maybe just was a nice compliment. Paxton, is it in the hundreds in Waco? No, not even. I don't even know if it's close.
It's in the 90s, but
let me look at this. Let me look at the weather, and I click the maps. 94.
Yeah,
it really hasn't been. You feel it, but like for example, what was it? Monday it rained. Mm-hmm. Pretty nice little thunder bumpers that came through town. And,
it was cool, pretty much all day.
It was. It was weird. It was really, really weird that happened. So. Paxton said it's 106 in Perryton, Texas.
Keep it, bro.
Perryton, Texas, in the northwest side of the great state of Texas. All right, couple of other notes that we have not been able to get to. We've gone over all of the NFL stuff and plus the Jerry Jones thing. The Fred Biletnikoff Award goes to the best wide receiver last year. Travis Hunter won that award from Colorado. There's a bunch of names. We're not going to show the list. We're not going to go over the entire list, but here are the names of players, and you tell me whether you remember them or are they new to the picture, new to the play. Chase Brown, Kansas State. Josh Cameron, Baylor. Chase Brown's supposed to be a stud for K-State. Josh Cameron, Baylor. We've discussed that story, the walk-on All-American punt and returner, and had a big year. Sawyer Robertson's safety, no question. Safety, not just blame. Michael Trigg, the tight end, who we don't talk about enough, is a dude. And then, of course, with Ashton Hawkins being cleared to play too. Caleb Douglas, Texas Tech, baller. Mm-hmm. Tanner Koisel of Houston, the tight end. Eric McAllister, TCU. Chase Roberts, a buddy of the show, right? From BYU. And maybe of all of them, with all due respect to all the ones we love, Josh Cameron and Chase Roberts and all, Jordan Tyson, Arizona State. He hung around our booth a lot at Big 12 Media Days. I wonder why. Was it because Faith was there?
Yeah, he made a friend.
Cam Vaughn, West Virginia. Reggie Virgil from Texas Tech. And Luke Weissong from Arizona.
I will tell you that of all the people you listed, that Jordan Tyson has the best shot at it.
To win the award?
Because he is the best offensive weapon on his team by far, as where a lot of those guys, and look, they have other weapons at Arizona State, but I think he showed how important he was to the team in that stretch last year where he was out and they kind of had to make do without him in their offense. It was more through Scatterboo than it even was before. But when you throw him back into that offense, he's dynamic. So I would say he's got the best shot. And when you listen, you listed two different Texas Tech wide receivers, right?
Yep. Caleb Douglas.
Again, they might effectively cancel each other out and still have great seasons.
McAllister, by the way, was at Boise State at one point. Last year played at TCU. Had 40 catches, I think about 500 yards and 5 touchdowns. He will get many more targets, you would think, this year. Caleb Douglas, really, really good player at Texas Tech. And Reggie Virgil, I mentioned, a couple of different players from Texas Tech on the list as far as the Biletnikoff Award watch list. So there we are with that. All right, around the corner, Paul Catalina, and also his top 5. And then Andrew Valade plus much of what he's got when it comes to the poll results and more. This is 365 Sports.
Overwhelmed by your inbox? Clean Email is here to help. Organize, clean, and manage your emails with powerful automation tools. Say goodbye to spam and clutter and enjoy a stress-free inbox. Try Clean Email today at cleanemail.com. That's CLEAN email.com. Founded in 1910, Samsonite is the world leader in durable, high-quality luggage and travel accessories. Made to the highest standards, our products won't let you down. We give you the confidence to get out there and explore. Inspired by the past, devoted to the present, and built to inspire a multi-generational future, Samsonite is here to elevate your journey. Travel with Samsonite and pack confidence every step of the way. Shop now at shop.samsonite.com. Samsonite.
We continue through numbers 15 through 11.
As standards, our products won't let you down. We give you the confidence to get out there and explore. Inspired by the past, devoted to the present, and built to inspire.
11. Controversy.
We give you the confidence to get out there and explore. Inspired by the past, devoted to the present, and built to inspire a multi-generational future, Samsonite is here to elevate your journey. Travel with Samsonite and pack confidence every step of the way. Shop now at shop.samsonite.com. Samsonite.
This is Paul Catalina's Top 5.
And we're back. Top 5. Brought to you by Flag and Anthem. Use our promo code 365sports for a discount at checkout. Look, you want to look good. Go to flagandanthem.com. You'll look good, I promise you. Today, we're going to continue going through the top 5, or the top 25, numbers 20 through 16. These are my rankings. And so if you have a problem with them, go ahead and take them up with me. Remember, though, I don't care what you think. Number 20, Florida, another team that could hop up a little bit more. I think they're going to have a little bit of a rocky go with their schedule. It's really tough, but I think you'll see an improved team from Billy Napier this year, due in large part to the fact that if this guy starts more games than he doesn't, they're going to win most of those games. DJ Lagway's a fantastic player. He's on his way up, only a true sophomore. So the SEC and the rest of the world has to deal with him for the next 2 years. And I'm going to throw up in my mouth. Number 19, Oklahoma. I love John Mateer. I love Ben Arbuckle. I love Jaden Ott. I think that transforms this Oklahoma offense. But again, much like Florida, they have a bear of a schedule. So if they can knock off some of those teams they won't be favored against early, Katie bar the door, because I think once John Mateer gets going in the SEC and Jaden Ott gets going in the SEC, you're going to see some fantastic things from Boomer Sooner. I stand by that. Number 18, Texas Tech. Again, should be with a bullet. They spent a lot of money in the portal. They've done a lot of things recruiting-wise. They have maybe the best system of portal plus high school recruiting melded together. Now, that's just starting out the last couple years, but this should be a time where they contend for the Big 12 title. I only have them down this far because they've got to prove it. They have to go and win these big games, and they can't stumble early. If they stumble early, given especially how easy their schedule is, this will be a disappointment. But anything short of playing in the Big 12 championship game, I think, for a lot of Tech fans will be a disappointment, given how aggressive they've been with building their roster. Number 17, South Carolina. I see a lot of good things, but they're still South Carolina. And the schedule is tough, and let's just see if it doesn't maybe turn around them a little bit, because much like Indiana, they're not sneaking up on anybody this year. They're not going to sneak up on anybody. Everybody knows about Lenora Sellers. So the stealth factor is gone from the Gamecocks. But I still think they'll be a very good team. I like what Shane Beamer is doing there. Number 16, Iowa State. I thought ranked far too low in the coaches poll. They have their quarterback, Rocco Beck, coming back. They have a lot of their offensive line and defensive players coming back. Yes, they had to make replacements at wide receiver, and they did that through the transfer portal, but only felt the need to take 8 transfers. That's usually the sign of a team that's loaded for bear and good to go. I think Iowa State's going to make some real noise this year. And that's going to do it for this top 5. Tomorrow, we continue through numbers 15 through 11. Controversy will be sparked from here on out. Smokey, read the polls.
We shall do that because Andrew Valade had his 2 polls. I voted in both of them. One of them, I almost missed it. Is the NFL's ban on smelling salts the right call? Absolutely.
You think so?
Yeah. I mean, how long have they been using smelling salts?
Forever.
How long did you're too young to know any better, drink from an old, trough when I was a young kid working out?
No, we had a pipe.
And we took salt pills, yes.
Yeah. They drill holes in the PVC pipe.
Yeah.
And it squirted up.
Well, sometimes we just sucked it out of a hole.
There's no dignity in that.
No.
There's no it is. It's all part of it is, I do think football coaches like to make sure you never get too big for your britches. So what better way to strip you of your dignity than, and it's weird. I was part of the shift from my sophomore to my senior year playing high school football of, you don't get water until you do this well to, no, you better get some water.
So you're the reason we're softer.
I mean, no. It was just we got more water.
You went from drink it out of a hose or the trough.
Yeah, and then we had
I'll
tell you this though. We had a water on demand, but our water girls were awful.
Were they good looking though?
No.
Oh God!
That's
word. Usually
it was.
Sometimes they look like they could play middle linebacker,
middle of the row. I mean, but
nothing wrong with that, by the way.
I'll just tell you. So
I'm going to be canceled after today.
I remember saying, hey, having tough drills, and we go over for the water break, and one of our water girls was named Chrissy, and I said, hey, Chrissy, there's no water in here, and she goes, kiss my ass, get your own damn water, and I was like, you're the water girl. She's team manager, and we both got in trouble because as a smart ass, I was like, well, then can you manage to get us some water? And my coach was literally, it's one of those, he's behind me, isn't he?
Yep.
All right. I was like, you know what? Can I get a sip of this water? And then I'll go run. I'll just
start doing gassers now.
I'll just start
bear
now.
crawls. Yeah.
I mean, here's the thing. Coach Scary was the best. He thought it was funny, but it's one of those things
Well, again, I don't the salt pills and all that, and I guess that they figured things out. But all right, now from Paxton, soft. Let a man do what he wants. Kim Coulter, Pax. He's talking about drinking on the golf course. Kim's talking about not drinking drinking beer or alcohol on the golf course. It's hard enough. There's enough demons on the golf course in our head of what we have to do. All right, so. Can we go back to that other poll?
Yeah.
I got lost. I'm sorry.
I think
I'm worried about the fact this is probably, I'm taking, normally you do get fired right before you take a little mini vacation. So it's a safety, it's a win.
Yeah, no, I think so. Because what do they usually use them for? When you get your smelling salts.
Yeah, to kind of clear up your head because you got
your bell rung. No,
boxers, right?
Yeah.
All right. So, okay. I guess I'm not going to give into that one. Players deserve their rituals, okay? There's some old school fighting back, and then find a compromise. I don't know if you can compromise. Either you smell and salt or you don't. Yeah. Slippery slope, 17%.
Andrew's honestly pretty pissed about this because he was adamant about the smelling salts. It was something they did in their high school before the games, the hockey. So he's pretty pissed about them taking this away.
Okay.
Andrew.
Yeah.
Good for you, man. All right. Now, have you ever had smelling salts?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I did too. I mean, it'll
knock your head back.
It's basically like snorting ammonia, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Your favorite team's game is you could never tell. Whenever Michael Irvin was given smelling salts in that white powder, stuff through his nose.
That's Irvin.
Mike, what did I say? Irving, didn't I say Irvin?
I know.
All right. Your favorite team's game is on. This is interesting here. You do not subscribe to where the game is. I mentioned this yesterday. What's your move? 37%. Pirate it like a rebel. I like it. Pay up and subscribe and follow scores on the phone, 24%. It would have to be. Now, I got the subscription to YouTube TV because Daniel, my son-in-law, said that's the only way you're going to watch Alabama, Texas because of whatever the game was on. I can't remember the network. And that was the only way. And so I said, damn it. It's too big of a game. I mean, I love sports. But if it would have been a couple of just random teams, I wouldn't have changed it. I'm glad I did because I love YouTube TV.
Here's the thing. You've got to, if you're going to, you either have to decide you're going to subscribe to all these apps, and then you have to like cancel and get the special again. You have to put it in your calendar.
Yep.
It's involved. Or you can pirate it, but I think that most people don't really know how to do that. I would say the grand majority of people don't know how to do that.
I've seen some UFC fights where somebody is streaming the fight but it's on live. It's like you can get all right.
There was a thing people were doing where they were jailbreaking Fire Sticks years ago.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
What does
Here's
that mean?
the reason. So
I know what a Fire Stick is. That's
basically you could like download this program to it, and then you could watch anything you wanted ever.
Oh, okay.
My problem with that was one of those things that's too good to be true, because I'm like, why are these people doing this? That like, I'm sure there's this big community of we're going to steal stuff so that people can watch it for free. But then there's also a pretty big section of that community. It's like, oh, really? You want to watch Ant-Man and the Wasp? Oh yeah, I'm going to steal your identity while you're downloading this to your Fire Stick. So I never did it.
I remember.
I started down the path of it, and I was like, wait a minute. There's too many questions here I have about what's the benefit? Like, what kind of a lonely ass dude sits in a room and uploads 10,000 movies to this server?
But
what does he get out of it other than not killing himself? I don't know.
I've always been a good wingman for you.
Yeah.
See, you admitted it.
Yeah, no, you have not.
But I thought you said you did that when X Hamster was blocked in Texas.
No, that's Emory. That was Emory.
Oh, okay.
The fact that you know the name of that website is telling on yourself. It's telling on yourself.
All right. Pirate It Like a Rebel was an overwhelming winner in that one. Yeah. All right. So there we are with all of that. Thank you, everybody that's in the chat. We appreciate our great sponsors, if they still are today after this show. Garrett Ross, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Brandon Rowe has survived into day 3 after just an absolutely atrocious start to his career. He'd been a part of us, though, for a while since Emory left.
He was
the
doing
thing. Fine until he bit off more than he could chew.
But sometimes guys hit a homer in their first at bat, and that's all they ever do.
Yeah,
and then some guys start out like 0 for 35, and then they become Hall of Fame.
He's not 0 for 35 yet, but he's getting close to. He's done better. He's done the last couple of days, and Garrett won't let him get near the control. And then also Andrew Valet, thank you very much for putting up everything tonight. 10:30 on the local CW. Brandon does that for us, getting the content up for that show on the local CW at 10:30. For Paul Catalina, Craig out this week, back Monday. I'm out tomorrow and Friday. Good night, 365 Sports.